A long time ago, a boy and a girl made a promise. She gave him a locket and she kept the key. When they got older, they would open it and get married. This story begins with our protagonist named Raku, who is preparing breakfast for the He is the son of the boss and future heir, although he has other plans like being an ordinary person, going to university and working. Raku arrives at his school accompanied by his Yakuza friends, and they warn him that there are members of enemy around, so he will have to take care of himself. While he goes to his classroom, he laments for never having had a girlfriend, although he remembers that as a child there was a girl who was even if only for a day. Suddenly, a girl named Chido falls on him. She apologizes and continues running in a hurry, leaving him lying on the ground. Raku, with an injured face, enters his classroom, and his friend Onodera is scared to see him, so she gives him a band-aid, and he blushes being so close to her. Then his friend named Shu begins to make fun of his blushes. After that, Raku is still happy as his day suddenly got better thanks to Onodera. But at that moment, Chidoge walks into the classroom. She just transferred. Everyone is enchanted by her beauty since she is half American, but Raku calls her a female barbarian because she was the one who kneed him in the face earlier. The teacher, seeing them fight, sits them next to each other. Raku thinks about Onodera and his first love as a child again. Chidoge is very different from them. Then he realizes that he has lost his locket. He asks Chidoge for help to search for it, since it was her fault that he lost it. Onodera offers to help him, but Raku refuses since the culprit must do it. Although the teacher has other plans for them, she assigns them both to take care of the school pets. The next day, Chidoge is having trouble with Japanese class, so Raku offers her his notes, but Chidoge refuses as she won't accept it from him. In gym class, Shu asked our protagonist why he is so friendly with Chidoge. Raku gets upset because even though she seems perfect, she is actually very aggressive. Chidoge hears that he is talking bad about her, so she starts throwing whatever she finds at Raku. When he gets home, everything is in an uproar as the are attacking again. The next day, Onodera asks him about the locket he lost, and Raku explains that it was a gift from someone very special to whom he made a promise. In the afternoon, Raku looks for the locket with Chidoge, then he asks her why she transferred schools. She says it was because of her parents' work, but she immediately gets upset since she doesn't want to tell him about her entire life, and when she leaves, her aroma brings back memories to Raku, although we can't think about because there is a ruckus over the fight between gang members and the next day, Chidoge is upset because her classmates think she is dating Raku, so she no longer wants to search for the locket. Raku gets angry, but she says that there's no point looking for something from someone who probably already forgot about him. He gets even angrier and yells at her, then Chidoge gets sad and leaves. After that, Raku feels bad since it is the first time he has yelled at a woman, but he continues his search alone while Chidoge watches him from afar. Days later, Onodera tells the Raku that Chidoge summoned him to a place. They go and wait for her, and when she appears, she throws the locket in her face and leaves. It turns out that Chidoge was secretly looking for his locket. He is surprised that she has a kind side, although she left him a note telling him that her debt is fulfilled and she doesn't want him to talk to her anymore. Raku ponders whether he should hold on to that promise, but Onodera tells him that he should since he doesn't know if the girl is still waiting for him. So Raku decides to believe in his promise no matter what. As he leaves, Onodera pulls out a key and regrets that she couldn't bring herself to talk to him. Arriving home, Raku's father tells him that the gang leader has a daughter the same age as him, and since he is an old friend, the two of them plan to settle their subordinates' differences, passing them off as a couple to calm them down. Raku tries to refuse, but his father tells him that lives are at stake, so he agrees, but when he is introduced to his future girlfriend, he is shocked to see that it is Chidoge. And now he understands everything. Why she transferred schools, why she didn't want to talk about her family, and he recognizes the aroma that she gave off the other day and that was so familiar to him, the smell of gunpowder. The two are stunned. Two people with the worst chemistry will have to pretend to be a couple for 3 years. Raku and Chidoge start fighting because they don't want to be a couple and their parents tell them that it is non-negotiable. Suddenly, the members of the Bihag gang arrive because they think that the kidnapped Chidoge. So the also go out to defend their home. The parents of the new couple say that this is a mistake. Chidoge is only visiting her boyfriend. Raku and Chidoge are surprised as the proud of the boy for having a girlfriend, and Chidoge's bodyguard, named Claude, who led the attack, is also happy that she reached the age to have a boyfriend. They can't stand being called a couple, so they start fighting, insulting each other, so Claude shoots Raku for insulting her. So the Yakuza named Ryu jumps to defend the heir, as all this is very suspicious. Both sides ask them if they are really a couple. Both fear the violence between both sides and decide to be a fake couple, and explain the insults as if they were compliments, and they believe them. The new couple goes out to talk, and both are annoyed by the mess they got themselves into. So Chidoge asks Raku about his locket, and he tells her the story behind the locket and his promise to meet that girl from the past. He thinks that she is not interested in talking about the past, but on the contrary, she likes romance stories like that, just a boy keeping the promise to meet a girl again. The next day, Chidoge goes to visit Raku as a surprise for them to have a date, and since they are a couple, he cannot refuse. The fake couple walks stiffly as both follow them to snoop on how the date unfolds. The date is horrible since Chitoj is quite picky. After leaving the cinema, she orders Raku to go get a drink for her, and while she's waiting for him, some thugs harass her and get on her nerves, so she wants to start a fight, but Raku arrives in time to stop her and takes her away with the excuse that she doesn't understand them since she is a foreigner. Chitoj gets mad since she didn't need to be saved, but Reiko says that she has to know how to pick her fights and it's not worth fighting those guys. Chitoj gets upset but then says that it wasn't the worst date in the world since she liked it a little bit. She goes to the bathroom since she was a little embarrassed because Raku held her hand and it's the first time a boy did that to her, while Raku is annoyed since he wanted that date to be with Onodera. Suddenly, Onodera appears scaring Raku to death as he was saying her name out loud. Onodera begins to tell him what she was doing there. Meanwhile, Chitoj came out of the bathroom and heard the gang members say that they found the relationship very strange, so she decides to try harder to look like a couple. Then she runs saying darling to the Raku. Onodera hears this and assumes that they are a couple, so Chitoj continues with her acting, so the gang who are watching them don't find out the truth, but Raku doesn't want to continue the lie in front of Onodera, so he starts talking about all Chitoj's flaws to justify that they aren't really dating. Chitoj gets upset and leaves. Onodera, who continues to believe that they are a couple, worries about their relationship, although he is not concerned since they will see each other later. Meanwhile, Claude confirms his suspicions that Chitoj and Reiko are hiding something and says that he'll take care of that scumbag twerp called Raku. Meanwhile, Raku tries to explain how things happened, but Onodera tells him that it's not necessary since it's so obvious that they're dating and they look cute together. Raku is speechless, so he just wants to clarify one last question. He shows her his locket and asks her if she recognizes it, but Onodera says no and goes to her house. Later, Raku goes in search of Chitoj and gives her a bean jam cake to apologize for almost messing up her entire performance. She forgives him since he accepted the blame and brought her a sweet. Meanwhile, Onodera arrives at her house and is sad because for lying to Raku. Now it will be even more difficult to clarify her doubts. Raku dreams of the moment when he met the girl who gave him the locket, but he wakes up before she says her name, so he is frustrated since he missed the most important thing. Because of that, he gets up in a bad mood and his comrades notice this. On the way to school, Chitoj warns Raku that they shouldn't reveal their relationship at school, although it was not necessary for him to say it, because when they enter the classroom, all their classmates congratulate them. It turns out that a couple of students saw them on their fake date. Raku tries to clear things up, but he realizes that Claude is watching them through the window, so they have to accept that they are a super in love and happy couple, and when Raku tries to explain the truth to Onodera, she just congratulates them for being such a cute couple. Later, Raku gets depressed about the situation they are in, and Chitoj is also upset since her school life will suck from now on. Then she goes home alone. Raku wants to talk to Onodera, and for his good luck, she appears in front of him. So he tries to tell her everything again, but he realizes that if he tells the truth only to her, it would be like declaring his feelings for her and his heart isn't ready for that yet. So he regrets it and changes the subject, saying that he doesn't think he's very compatible with Chitoj since he doesn't have anything good. Onodera gets upset because she sees many good things in him since she was watching him all this time, and she lists a few good qualities about him. He gets nervous since he hadn't noticed that she paid so much attention to him. A student collides with Onodera and she drops a key, and Raku begins to sweat for nerves, believing that this key can open his locket. But Onodera becomes even more nervous and red and says that it is a key from a bookcase, and she brought it by mistake thinking it was the one from her house, and leaves so he doesn't ask her more details, leaving Raku surprised. He's never seen her like this since he's known her. The next day, the fake couple struts into the classroom in a flashy and loving way to show Claude that they are dating, but they are so embarrassed that they want to go inside. At the break, Raku looks for Chitoj and she tells him that Claude won't be watching them today since he must do something else. So he tells her that it would be good to confess the truth to a trusted friend to release the load a bit, but this just annoys her and leaves. Then Raku talks to Shu to ask him why Chitoj would be upset and gives him the context of the situation without telling him the whole truth. Shu thinks that maybe she doesn't have any close friends to talk about her secrets, and this surprises Raku because she always seems to be talking to the girls, but for Shu, the only one she talks to in a friendly way is Raku. After that, Raku goes to his teacher to ask about Onodera, but since there was no committee meeting, she left early, so he lost his chance to confess her the truth. Later, Raku hears Chitoj's so-called friends say that talking to her is a bit difficult since she only looks natural when she's talking to him. This confirms what Shu told him, and he realizes that he never thought about Chitoj's personal life, so he was looking for her and finds her in the classroom practicing the pronunciation of her classmates and making notes about them in order to make friends. Raku approaches her and Chitoj gets nervous and explains that because of Claude, she has a hard time making friends because of his overprotectiveness, so her school transfer was her chance to make friends because no one would know that she is the daughter of. but is not turning out as she would like. Raku identifies with her because in the past, he also had to make a notebook like the one she is making, so he wants to help her make friends. Chitoj allows him to help her but activates her tsundere mode, and Raku gets annoyed by her attitude, but she doesn't think she should treat him nice since they're a fake couple. What they didn't know is that they were heard by Onodera, who stays confused. Days later, Chitoj was able to make friends thanks to the notebook of friends that Raku approved, so now she is happy. Meanwhile, Onodera's friend named Ruri is worried about Onodera since she realized that she likes Raku, so Onodera gets nervous, and that's not all. Ruri tells her that Raku liked her too. According to Ruri, there are no laws that prevent someone from interfering in a relationship, so she will help her friend. Then Ruri tells Raku to have a study group at his house. He happily accepts and believes that he is in a dream for having Onodera in his house, although when their eyes meet, she avoids him. They enter Raku's room and Chitoj doesn't like the smell, but Onodera loves it since it smells like him and she blushes, although she continues to avoid his gaze. Then Ryu enters with tea and Onodera with Raku accidentally touches their hand and throws everything on the floor. After that, they begin to study, and since Onodera had a question, Ruri takes the opportunity to tell Raku to help her, then Onodera goes to sit next to him, although she is dying of embarrassment, but he cannot concentrate because of how close they are. Chitoj sees Onodera's math problem and solves it instantly, and takes Raku out of the place next to Onodera, and she sits down instead. It turns out that Chitoj is very intelligent, she always got A's in America. Her fake boyfriend gets depressed because he thought that at least he would beat her in the school. Chitoj asks Onodera if she likes someone, to which Onodera is too embarrassed and says no, and Chitoj blurts out that she doesn't like anyone either but would like to have a romance. So to avoid being found out, they pretend it was a joke. Taking advantage of the fact that they are talking about couples, Shu asks them how far they got. So they get nervous and Raku takes him outside to explain the whole story. So he doesn't ask those awkward questions anymore, although Shu already knew from the beginning that it was a lie, but he went along with the others to laugh at his friend for a while. Shu recommends him to confess the truth to Onodera to avoid being uncomfortable with her, since she has a crush on him, but Raku doesn't believe him. They go back inside and Raku is thoughtful, but as you men heard that the couple is not moving forward, so they decide to help them. They ask Raku and Chitoj to go for some expensive and special tea at an old storehouse, and Chitoj doesn't want to go in. But Raku's men force them in and lock the door. Raku realizes what is happening and sees that they can use a ladder to escape, but Chitoj sticks to his back. She is scared because she is afraid of closed and dark spaces due to an accident that happened to her as a child. Having her so close, he realizes how beautiful she is. He had never noticed it until now, so he tries to react by force by reminding himself that Onodera exists. Chitoj also sees the ladder, but Raku says that she's in no condition to use it and he can't leave her alone in that state, so it's best to wait for the others to rescue them. They remain silent for a while, so Chitoj asks him to tell her something. He doesn't know what to say, so she asks him to tell her about Onodera, and Raku describes her as the perfect woman. Raku realizes that perhaps she realizes his feelings for Onodera, but Chitoj shares his opinion, and since she is super clueless, she did not notice. Chitoj remembers Shu's question and wonders if it's so weird that they haven't kissed yet, but this only leads to a fight over who has kissed the most, although thanks to that, Chitoj stopped feeling afraid, so she tries to move, but she slips and falls on top of Raku. Both are in a compromising position. Suddenly, the door opens violently. Claude went looking for them, and seeing her on top of him, he gets furious with Raku since he doesn't accept that he does those things with Chitoj. Onodera also arrives, who turns red when she sees them, so she leaves the house, taking Ruri with her so as not to disturb the couple. At night, Chitoj recognizes that Raku has a good side, but since she is its tsundere, she tries to minimize it as much as she can. The next day, Raku is about to enter the classroom and overhears Ruri talking about the promise that Onodera made to a boy 10 years ago. He blushes because she could be the girl he made his promise to. Ruri creates another opportunity for Onodera by calling the Raku and Chitoj as helpers in the pool, and although she was very excited, he did not like the idea very much. To top it off, Onodera arrives and Raku turns red seeing her in a bathing suit. Chitoj realizes that he sees her a lot, so she hits him because Onodera is embarrassed. Ruri cuts the move by asking them what they were doing locked up in the storehouse, so Raku explains that it was a misunderstanding since they locked them up as a joke. Ruri asks Raku to teach Onodera to swim so that she can take the test the next day since swimming is terrible for her. Shu offers Chitoj to apply her the sunscreen, so Ruri kicks him for interrupting the training, but Raku finds it strange that Claude didn't try to friend, although Claude was distracted by how much his young lady has grown. Chitoj tries to show Onodera how to swim, but since she does it very advanced, Onodera didn't understand anything, which makes Chitoj feel bad. Raku decides to teach her the basics, but being so close to her makes him very nervous, and when she tells him to not let her go, Raku explodes and realizes her. After that, they take a break and he wants to stop the training, but she doesn't want to waste his time, so Raku falls in love with her even more. Onodera goes for some drinks and Reikyu sees that a key is among her things, so he decides to check if it is the key to his locket, but he realizes that it is a little different from the one he saw before and does not go in since in reality, this key is the one from the girls' locker room. Suddenly, the three girls come back and see him with the key, so they beat him up and tie him up for being a but Reikyu insists that it's a misunderstanding, so Onodera believes him since she doesn't see him as a voyeur type. So Ruri agrees to untie him on the condition that he dedicates himself fully to Onodera's training. Later, Ruri talks with Chitoge, but from the way she talks about Raku, she begins to suspect that they are not dating. The next day, Chitoge signed up to take the exam. Raku tells her that he couldn't teach Onodera to swim without the kickboard. Onodera arrives and tells him that she feels ready, and Raku tells her to not try too hard. Then Chitoge gets upset because he changes his attitude towards Onodera compared to her, so they start to fight since neither of them knows how to talk nicely to each other. Ruri finds their relationship strained because they fight a lot even when she's about to start the exam. Raku yells at Chitoge that she should have warmed up. The race begins and Reikyu is worried about Onodera since she doesn't have much experience. The one who starts to drown is Chitoge. Since she got cramps from not warming up, Raku doesn't hesitate and jumps into the pool to save her. Shu lies to his friend saying that Chitoge is not breathing and needs CPR, so our protagonist enters an existential debate if he should give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation in front of everyone. And when he's about to do it, Chitoge wakes up and slaps him when she sees his lips close to hers. In a locker room, Onodera says that Reikyu looked great rescuing Chitoge, and Ruri thinks the same, but also says that she should be happy because their relationship is so good. Then she sees Onodera's key and tells her that she should forget about the kid from 10 years ago and focus on the boy she wants now, even though she doesn't know that maybe they are both the same person. Raku and Shu are waiting outside, and Shu begins to compare which of the girls is the prettiest and says that Chitoge is a bit fleshy. She listens to him and sends them both flying. The next day, Chitoge brings a rich girl lunch, so they ask her about her family and she gets nervous since she can't tell them. Then Ruri apologizes to her about the pool since she set everything up, although Chitoge says that it's all the fault of Ruka who annoyed her before the race started, and they tell her that he was the one who saved her from drowning. Onodera and Riru tell her that she should apologize for the slap and thank him for saving her. Chitoge doesn't want to, but they convince her. Then she sees Ruka and tries to tell him about what happened yesterday, but he thinks that she is talking about Shu saying that she is chubby. Chitoge gets angry and slaps him. Chitoge tries it a second time and gives him a bread, but he complains because it is not his favorite flavor. She gets upset and knees him. On her third try, she is clearer, but Ruka gets confused and thinks she is talking about mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, so he feels special because he thinks she liked it. But Chitoge keeps talking about the rescue, and he asks her if she is talking about their almost kiss. Chitoge finally understands him and gets angrier and punches him. Later, Chitoge regrets having tried to apologize, so Ruri asks her if they are really dating. Then she takes the opportunity to tell him the truth, since now the two of them are her trusted friends. Finally, Ruri understands everything. She asks Chitoge what would happen if someone else falls in love with Raku, and she answers that she would give Raku away with a ribbon bow, then she leaves. Ruri tells Onodera that she is free to confess her feelings to our protagonist. Onodera takes courage and says that she will do it, but as soon as she visualizes herself doing it, she explodes with embarrassment. Meanwhile, Raku was walking distracted, thinking about his promise, but a man bumped into him and he dropped the locket without him noticing. Chitoge is cleaning the school farm and gets upset because Raku was late. Then she asks him why he saved her. He says that his body moved without him noticing. Chitoge is moved and thanks him in English, but Raku doesn't understand her and starts bothering her. So she gets in with a broom to stop asking. He blushes because he intuits that she thanked him. After that, Chitoge finds the locket that Raku lost. After that, he goes to the classroom and meets Ruri and Onodera. Ruri takes the opportunity to leave them alone and watches over them, so her friend cannot escape. Raku notices that Onodera turned red and worries, so she tries to confess her feelings to him. Although when she's about to do it, a baseball ball crashes through the window and interrupts the moment, so she regrets it and doesn't say anything. Raku leaves and gets excited thinking that maybe she was going to declare her feelings, although he doesn't think that's possible, so he stops worrying. Meanwhile, Ruri is upset with Onodera for not confessing to him, although she never really had that much faith in her. So she forgives her this time, but Onodera is glad that she did not confess to him since their relationship is beautiful as it is, so she will tell them her feelings another time. At night, Chitoge decides to go to Raku's house and give him his locket. He was looking everywhere for it, so he is very grateful to her for getting it back. He didn't know that she had a good side. Then he realizes that the locket chain is fixed since Chitoge asked one of her men to repair it. As she remembers that she also made a promise to someone as a child. The next day, a new student named Sugumi transfers to the school and draws a lot of attention as he is quite handsome, but he quickly approaches Chitoge and hugs her. It turns out that he is part of the Beehive gang and has known Chigo since they were both children, and he found out that his lady has a boyfriend and wanted to know if he is worthy of her. Sugumi starts pampering Chitoge as if he were her butler, so she gets upset and goes to the bathroom since he doesn't let her breathe and she wants her space. So Sugumi Sugumi takes the opportunity to ask Raku a question. Sugumi takes Raku to the roof and asks if he is in love with Chitoge, and as he says yes, Sugumi also asks if he would die for her. Raku says yes to everything. Suddenly, Sugumi tries to kill him and is quickly disappointed that Raku doesn't know how to defend himself. He doesn't understand how Chitoge could fall in love with someone so weak and spineless, so he decides to be his rival and try to win over Chitoge. Raku likes the idea but quickly realizes that he can't let him break up their fake relationship as it would cause trouble between the gangs again. So he yells that he refuses to accept Chitoge being taken from him so easily. Sugumi listens to him and is motivated to crush him, but Chitoge, who was listening, stops them so they don't kill each other. Then Sugumi remembers the promise he made with Chitoge as children, and that's why he trained all this time to be able to protect her, so Raku will have to show him that he can do it too. Sugumi challenges Raku to a duel for Chitoge and then leaves. Chitoge is worried because Sugumi is a trained hitman who always anyone who bothers her, but now she doesn't want Raku to lose, and before he says something embarrassing, she punches him. Raku accepts the challenge, but when it comes time for the duel, there are a lot of people placing their bets to see who will win, thanks to Shu, who did not miss the opportunity. The duel begins and Sugumi shoots Ruko with different weapons, so he runs throughout the school trying to cover himself, while Sugumi does not stop telling him that he will not be able to protect Chitoge. But Raku thinks that Sugumi is unmanly since he doesn't understand that Chitoge isn't a damsel in distress. Sugumi flies into a rage, though only because of the part about him not being man enough. Raku is forced to do an all or nothing, so he jumps from the 3rd floor into the pool and miraculously Sugumi almost drowns, so our protagonist has to rescue him. After that, Raku is cold, so he goes to change, but he can't leave Sugumi in that state, so he also takes him to men's changing room. But when he undresses him, we realize that Sugumi is a girl. To top it off, Chitoge and the whole crowd enter the men's changing room to look for them. Raku and an almost Sugumi hide in a closet. The girls are confused since Chigote sent them to check the girl changing room, so Chitoge tells them that Tsugumi is a girl, so everyone is surprised. While in the closet, Raku doesn't understand why she dresses as a man. Tsugumi says it's because she can't move freely in women's clothes. Raku is about to have a heart attack because he's never been so close to an almost woman. He tries to think of Onodera, but his eyes betray him and remain fixed on her breasts. Later, Sugumi explains that the people always mistake her for a man, even Claude just found out recently. But she doesn't care since she gave up being a woman to protect Chitoge. Raku says that's a shame since he sees her as a cute girl. Suddenly, Chitoge discovers them and beats up Raku for being a pig. Sugumi explains to Chitoge what happened and calms her down. She also says that she does not accept the defeat since he never showed that he can protect her. So she cancels the duel for now, although in reality she believes that she lost since he reminded her that Chitoge is an independent girl who doesn't want to be protected. The next day, Sugumi goes to school in a female uniform, but she doesn't like it since she should protect Chitoge as she promised when they were children. Chitoge doesn't remember said promise, but since it was something trivial, she doesn't care. Then she gives her a bow of ribbons for her hair, so no one mistakes her for a boy. Later, Sugumi thinks that Chitoge might not remember the promise she made with the first love of her life 10 years ago. Claude verifies that Sugumi has not lost her touch and gives her a mission, which is to confirm if Raku is a fake boyfriend, to kill him if that is the case. Sugumi seems very determined to do it, though she remembers that he told her that she was cute, so she turns red. The next day, Sugumi introduces herself to Chitoge's friends, and the boys in the class believe that now that they know that she is a woman, the girls will stop being crazy about her. But they are wrong since they all want to be her friends. At the school farm, Raku realizes that they need animal food, so he and Chitoge have to go buy it. But Sugumi appears from the bushes and offers to go with him with the excuse that this job does not deserve her lady's attention, although in reality, she wants to inquire about this strange courtship. Chitoge agrees that they go together, but on one condition, which is to dress her as a woman and confiscate her weapons. Since she's very pretty, everyone stares at her and she gets very nervous. At the pet store, Raku realizes that Sugumi with those clothes and acting like a girl is quite cute, but Sugumi notices and gets upset. Although since she is not used to wearing heels, she trips, but Raku saves her. When they are returning, Sugumi's feet get blisters, so Raku carries her in his back since she can't walk. They start talking about Chitoge and love. Sugumi tells him that Chitoge had a crush 10 years ago, while she has never fallen in love since she is completely devoted to Chitoge, but Raku believes that someone like her could find the right person one day, although Sugumi starts to get too red, so they stop talking about it. At night, Sugumi has her test with Claude again, but now she loses concentration as soon as they talk about Raku. So Claude wonders what's going on, although since she has no progress on her mission, he doesn't ask anything else. The next day, Sugumi feels weird because whenever she sees our protagonist, she can't help but get nervous, and when he interacts with her, things get worse, so she asks Chitoge, but Chitoge doesn't understand what she's talking about and thinks she's sick, so Sugumi looks elsewhere for an answer. So she asks Claude, but he has no idea what is happening to her and only cares that she completes her mission. Then she asks Shu and he doesn't know what's wrong with her, but he laughs out loud because he knows it's about Raku. She keeps asking, but they all give her vague answers. Finally, she asks Onodera and Ruri. They tell her that what she feels is love, then Tsugumi turns red because she doesn't want to accept it. But Ruri says Onodera is going through the same thing, so Onodera has to shut her up before she reveals everything. Tsugumi can't accept it, but when she starts to consider it, she visualizes taking Chito's boyfriend, so she hits her head against the wall, and when Raku sees her, she runs away since she doesn't want to see him because of her nerves. Chitoj finds her and asks her what's wrong. Tsugumi tells her that everyone believes that she is in love, and Chitoj is also convinced, although she could not know for sure since she never fell in love, but she quickly takes it back since she supposedly is in love with her boyfriend Raku. Anyway, Tsugumi reminds her of her first love from 10 years ago, so Chitoj realizes that she is right. In the past, there was a person in her childhood, and she made a promise with him. Chitoj doesn't remember what that promise was, so they talk about Tsugumi again, but Raku appears and says that it's love what Tsugumi feels. She gets angry and tries to shoot him so he doesn't say anything else. Arriving at her house, Chitoj thinks about her childhood, so she starts looking through her things to see if there are any clues about this supposed first love, and finds a diary where she recounts everything that happened with that kid. When she was 5 years old, she was in Japan and met a boy, but she did not write down his name or the promise they made the last day they saw each other, although what she found was a key. Chitoj has no idea what that key is for, then she realizes that Tsugumi is watching her and asks if she could accompany her to a place to look for clues about her first love, but Tsugumi reminds her that they have a camping trip tomorrow, which she had completely forgotten, and she does not want to miss it, as it is a great opportunity to be with her friends. She also didn't know that they would form groups of 6, so they all sit together, but as Ruri pushes Onodera against Raku, they all end up very close and at each curve. Ruri pushes Onodera, who rubs against Raku, who sticks closer to Chitoj and is threatened by Tsugumi. After that hell, Raku is upset with Shu, since it was his idea, and Onodera gets upset with Ruri, because she doesn't want her to push her like that to get closer to her love. Afterwards, they have to prepare lunch, so Raku gives them the instructions to cook, and Chitoj seems to be having fun with all the girls, but she is pensive about the boy from her childhood because all she knows is that he has a scar. Later, when she is about to give Raku the water he asked for, she trips and throws the water on him and sees that he has a scar on his forehead. So she puts the dots together and realizes that her key may be the one that opens Raku's locket, though she goes into denial. After that, the 6 go to see their room and Shu wants to play cards, but with punishment. Ruri convinces him that the punishment is not something, so the loser will reveal who their first love was. Everyone gets nervous about this punishment, so they take the game very seriously, while Nadara is very bad at hiding her expressions, so Raku takes pity on her and always chooses her worst card, although Chitoj is in the same situation. Since Raku always sacrificed himself for Onodera, he ends up being last with Chitoj, but as much as he doesn't want to lose, he decides to do so, although before the game determines a winner, the teacher comes in, annoyed since they haven't reported for lunch and they were late. At night, they go to enter the thermal baths, but Raku receives a call and Claude sets a trap for him since the call was false, and he changed the sign for the men's bathroom and put it in the women's, so that he will enter and get labeled a voyeur for the rest of his school life. Raku walks into the hot springs and is surprised to be alone, but it doesn't last as Chitoj splashes in like a pool. Raku turns completely red when he sees her completely, and she punches him while he tries to justify himself to her by saying that he went into the men's room. Chitoj saw Claude before, so she intuits that it's all his doing, so she forgives him and tells him to go away, but all the girls come in and Chitoj hides him so no one can see him. Raku is surprised that Chitoj helps him escape, but Chitoj does it since, if they are discovered together in the bathroom, it will be seen in a bad light for the rest of the time at school. Then Raku sees his staff door, so he decides to go out because thanks to Ruri, everyone is distracted. But when he's about to arrive, the teacher enters and he can't leave anymore. Now Raku is even more worried because if the teacher finds out, they could expel him, but she is distracted playing with the shy Tsugumi's body. Raku witnesses this entire scene and Tsugumi feels a look and throws a shampoo at him, almost exposing him. He hides as best he can behind Chitoj, but since their classmates want to talk to her, Chitoj is forced to say that Tsugumi has a crush so that the girls gossip away from them. Raku dives underwater and sees that there is a hole that connects to the men's bathroom, so he tries to swim away. But Tsugumi throws Onodera under the bus, saying that she is in love with someone, so the shy girl runs away and blocks the hole with her body. Chitoj tries to push her away so that Raku can swim away, but between the struggles, Onodera falls on Raku and realizes that there is something there, but Chitoj tells her that it is her imagination, although now she is the one who falls and kisses Raku's. He manages to get out, and instead of snooping like the rest, he just prefers to rest after the disaster that almost happened. After a while, he meets with Chitoj. They are both red, and she is worried about what Raku saw, but he says that since there was a lot of steam, he could not see anything, and he hides from her that he felt her kiss, since he's embarrassed. The next day, Raku gets nervous when he sees Chitoj since he remembers her, but she walks past him so he doesn't see that she is also nervous, her heart raced. Shu reminds him that at night they have a test of courage, so he should take the opportunity to go with Onodera, but the couples are by lottery, so if Shu has to go with Onodera, he agrees to sell him his place. Ruri also tells Onodera that she should stick with Raku in the test of courage, but she doesn't think she will go with him, so Ruri tells her that she will give her place if she is drawn with him, so she now has double the chances. Later, she meets Raku coming out of the cafeteria, but he still remembers Onodera, so he leaves quickly since he can't even see her without turning red, and Onodera realizes that he dodged her. At night, the draw begins and Ruri says out loud that Onodera has the number 12, so Raku gets ready to draw that number. Then miraculously, he draws the number 12, so they are both surprised at their luck. Meanwhile, Chidoj is paired with Shu and Ruri with Subu, since there are no other boys. Onodera approaches Raku, but he still can't look her in the eye, so Onodera feels like she's a bother to him. But Raku tells her that it's not true. He's just nervous, and he lies saying it's because they're sleeping in the same room. They continue talking very happily, and this is seen by Chidoj, which annoys her a bit. So she goes into the bushes and finds the teachers who will dress up as ghosts. They are worried because one of them feels bad and will not be able to scare the students. After much insistence, Chitov agrees to dress up as a ghost, leaving Shu alone. They take her to her post so she can start scaring the students, but Chidoj is very afraid since she can't stand being in the dark, and since her flashlight doesn't turn on, she ends up panicking and getting scared by everything, so she can only wait for someone to rescue her. Although when she thinks of Raku, her fear subsides a bit. Meanwhile, it is Raku and Onodera's turn to enter the forest, and they both hold each other's hands in embarrassment, and their faces are very red. Suddenly, Shu asks them if they saw Chitoj, and other students say that the teachers dressed her as a ghost and took her to the forest. Raku begins to worry, and to top it off, a teacher arrives saying that she forgot to change the batteries to the flashlight from Chitoj. So our protagonist imagines her alone and in the dark, scared by everything like what happened to her in the storehouse the other day. He lets go of Onodera's hand and worriedly runs into the forest to save his fake girlfriend. Meanwhile, Chitoj was counting sheep to distract herself from fear, and she remembers that something like this happened to her when she was a child, since in her diary it said that when she fell into a hole, this boy rescued her, and then Raku appears just like the boy from her childhood did. On the way to the camping, Raku doesn't stop scolding her for accepting something she's afraid of, but she asks him to call each other by their first names, using the excuse that it is to not raise suspicions that a couple continues to call each other by the last name. Raku accepts, but as soon as they both call each other by their first names, they turn red with embarrassment. In the end, they took a long time to come back, so he lost his chance to be alone with Onodera. Then Sugumi tells Chidoj that they could go look for the place where she met her first love the next day, but she is no longer interested in going for now. Days later, Raku wants to talk to Onodera, but Chidoj calls him by his first name and he does the same with her, for which Onodera is surprised, although he explains that it is only for appearances because they are supposedly dating, and Ruri is annoyed with Onodera for letting Chidoj get ahead of her. After that, Sugumi approaches them and says that today is Chitoj's birthday and she wants to throw her a surprise party. Raku wants to go buy the gifts, and Ruri takes the opportunity to send Onodera with him. She doesn't go with the excuse that her stomach hurts. In the afternoon, Raku and Onodera meet to buy a gift for Chitoj. He feels so nervous because it seems that they are on a date, so he forgets to ask her when it's her birthday. After buying the gift, Raku feels sad as time passed so fast, but Onodera had her own plans and takes him to her secret place. He is surprised that only he has been shown this place, and since it is a secret between the two of them, he explodes with joy. Onodera calls him by his first name, but is quickly embarrassed. Raku sees the girl from 10 years ago in her, though he believes it was just his imagination. He tries to ask when her birthday is so they can go out to celebrate, but he inadvertently ends up asking her if she's the girl of his promise, and to his shock, she says yes. Or at least that's what she thinks, since she remembers playing with a little boy who had a locket and she has a key that matches his story. Suddenly, Sugumi calls them angrily on the phone since they have taken too long, so they postpone the conversation. They arrive at Chitoj's house and realize that it is a mansion, so they wonder what her parents do for a living. She is surprised to see them, so she grabs Raku, asking for his help since no one knows that her parents are. But he tells everyone without problems because no one will judge her, since they are both in the same situation. They enter the house and the gang members also celebrate her surprise birthday. They are also surprised since Chidoj never brings friends to the mansion. Claude challenges Raku to see who gives her the best gift, but Raku ignores him. They begin the delivery of gifts and Claude gave her a car, but Chidoj does not have a license, so she does not accept it. Anyway, Claude wants to see what her boyfriend will give her. Raku gives her a stuffed gorilla that looks like her. The gang members get upset as they find it offensive, but Chidoj is amused, so she accepts it, and everyone must respect her decision. On the balcony, Chitoj scolds him for giving her a stuffed gorilla. Then Raku tells her to throw it away if she doesn't like it, but Chidoj doesn't want to and will keep it with the excuse that they are dating, so she must keep his gifts. Then Chidoj asks him if he's still in love with the girl from 10 years ago, and he thinks that maybe Onodera just thinks she's the girl, but he says yes anyway. Then Chidoj tells him a phrase that he had been told as a child, so he is speechless. Zos in love. Those are the words that the girl told him when she gave him the locket, so they both realize that maybe they are the ones who promised each other in the past, although they both try to convince themselves that it cannot be true since for Chidoj, this boy was too kind and chivalrous, not at all like Raku, and he also remembers his girl as someone very sweet and feminine, so she doesn't look like her at all. To clear things up, they just have to confirm if Chidoj's key opens the locket, but as she keeps bragging about her childhood boy, Raku gets angry and asks her what she would do if it's really him. So she tells him that she would give him a kiss, and they both turn red since she said it without thinking. She tries to open the lock, but turns it with much force and ends up breaking her key, so Raku starts crying since he won't be able to verify if Onodera is the girl he made his promise. Raku walks thoughtful since he does not know which of the two could be the girl from his childhood. He meets Chidoj's father. He is happy to see him after so long and thanks him. Chidoj has a lot of fun in Japan. Raku doesn't think it's thanks to him since they get along badly, but Chidoj's father doesn't think it's like that since they had a lot of chemistry as children and were inseparable. He tells him that he had to come to negotiate with his father and brought Chidoj, so they both became good friends. Raku is speechless. Chidoj's dad also says that there was another girl, Onodera. She also played with them 10 years ago. Raku is sure that he made the promise to one of them and he panics because until now he was not sure that Chidoj was an option, but he makes his decision since the person he likes now is Onodera and that will not change. The next day, Raku sends to fix his locket with Shu's uncle who thinks he can do it, so Shu takes the opportunity to ask him what the meaning of that locket is, but Raku doesn't want to tell him yet. Raku meets Chidoj who acts very normal for all the things that happened the day before, but as soon as he touches her, she gets super nervous. Claude is watching them and their classmates arrive, so Raku tries to do their couple show, but Chidoj is so nervous that she can't do it and yells at him, so everyone is surprised. After that, Onodera asks Raku if he had a fight with Chidoj, since she was acting strange, but he says no. Onodera tells him that things will be fixed soon, but she can't stop thinking about how Raku let go her hand to run to save to Chidoj the other night at camp trip. They then announce that the school trip photos are ready so they can choose and buy them, and Raku tells Chidoj to hold back, but she ends up choosing a bunch of photos. Raku and Onodera look for photos where they are together and find one, but neither dare to buy it. Meanwhile, Shu has his own black market for embarrassing photos of girls. Ruri beats him to a pulp, but he still offers one of Onodera to Raku and he gladly buys it. Later, Raku notices that there is a photo of Chidoj where Onodera is seen changing clothes in the background, so he removes it from the wall so no one sees it. But to his bad luck, she bumps into him and sees the photo he has. But she only sees Chidoj in the photo and gets his sad thinking that he chose a photo of his fake girlfriend. At his house, Raku thinks it would be very useful to have a photo from his childhood, and his father says that he has one of those kept in the storehouse. He took that photo of him and the girl with a key at Raku's insistence 10 years ago. Raku's heart thumps very hard in his chest, just thinking that he is close to a new clue. The next day, Raku arrives at school emaciated from having spent the whole night looking for the photo without success. Shu invites him to join the study group he is forming, and Raku wants to refuse since he studies on his own, but they end up convincing him since Onodera also studied with them. They go to a Mickey D's and Chidoj is super happy since she had never been to one with school friends, and Raku is a little upset since he wanted to look for the photo, but it's not so bad since being at Mickey D's with Onodera is already a dream come true. Ruri tries to sit Onodera with Raku, but she refuses and says that he should sit with his girlfriend. Raku is surprised as she sounded more distant than usual, and Ruri realizes something is up, though Onodera tries to deny it. They start to study and Tsugumi is good because compared to America, in Japan the classes are easy. Then she sees Raku suffering with a problem and decides to help him, but she turns red when she's by his side. Shu notices this and smiles, so Tsugumi beats him up to prevent him to say or do anything strange. After that, they ask Chidoj to translate an English text, and while doing so, they realize that the teacher chose a drama about a man who must choose between two women. So Raku is distracted thinking about his situation. He thinks that Onodera fits more with the girl from his memories, but Chidoj knows the phrase Zos in love. He was so lost in his thoughts that when Shu asks him what drink he wants, he almost says Onodera, but he saves himself by asking Onodera what drink she wants. At home, Raku finally finds the box of old photos, but when he opens it, he is surprised because the girl in the photo is not Onodera or Chidoj, but another girl he doesn't remember. He goes to look for his father to ask who she is, but he had just left. The next day, Raku can't stop thinking that now there is another girl he knows nothing about. Later, he meets Chidoj at the school exit. She doesn't know how to leave since it's raining very hard. He offers her to go together with his umbrella, but she refuses since she prefers to get wet, but he stops her since she could get sick if she gets soaked. On the way home, Chidoj realizes that Raku is giving her more space under the umbrella and he is getting wet, so she sticks to him, and they both get very nervous. But they start arguing since she doesn't want him to misunderstand. Then a lightning strikes and Chitoj is scared to the point of not being able to move. They take shelter from the rain under a kiosk, and to pass the time they begin to look at the photos they bought. But Shu had put a photo of Chitoj sleeping in Raku's bag, so he sweats cold, although Chitoj imagines what happened, since he wouldn't have the courage to go with that photo. Raku is surprised to see her so calm, and because she made quite a few friends compared to how she started the year, and she's proud of herself. But her only regret is having to be her girlfriend, although the feeling is mutual. Chitoj tells him that he has his positive points, and Reku tries to say her qualities too, but she was joking. So they fight again until another lightning strikes, and they end up hugging. Suddenly, Raku's father catches them red-handed and asks them if they are now a real couple, but they deny it. He is relieved. Then the old man tells Raku that his fiancée will come to see him. It turns out that long ago on a night of drinking, Raku's father compromised him. So this girl grew up believing that Raku is her fiancé. She comes tomorrow, and the old man asks Raku to spend time with her. The next day, a new transfer student arrives, and she is quite cute. She is Marika, and it turns out that she is Raku's fiancée. She throws herself into Raku's arms and announces to everyone that she is his fiancée, but Chitoj takes him away from her because she has to pretend that he is her boyfriend, and since Raku wants nothing to do with this new girl, he holds on to Chitoj. Marika tells Raku that she would make him happier than Chitoj, who looks like a gorilla, so Tsugumi gets angry and wants to kill her. But it turns out that Marika's father is the city commissioner, so Marika just has to ask, and the special forces come in to protect her. Now Raku understands the trouble it would cause if Marika's father gets upset with the Yakuza, so he doesn't know what to do, but Marika pretends she feels bad, so she drags Raku to the infirmary for treatment. Raku explains that he doesn't remember her, and that's why she shouldn't take an engagement promise from so long ago seriously. But Marika does remember him and grew up loving him all this time, so she asks him to take off his clothes so they can make it. Raku tries to escape from her however he can. All the girls are listening outside the infirmary, so Chitoj can't take it anymore and opens the door, and they find Raku on top of Marika, so they surround Raku and calls him a and not even Onodera trusts him. The next few days were hell for Raku because all the girls give him bad looks and the boys hate him for taking all the pretty girls. She doesn't care and invites him on a date. Raku doesn't want to, but she hints that her father might be upset, and he accepts because he doesn't want the police to raid the The day of the date arrives, and all the girls chase them in disguise through the city. Marika and Raku go to a fancy restaurant, although she soon realizes that they are being spied on, so she grabs Raku and they run away. In the park, Raku shows Marika the photo he took with her as a child and tells her that he doesn't remember anything from those times, since his only memory is a promise he made. Marika says that she knows the details of that promise, but if he wants the truth, he will have to break up with Chitoj, but Raku refuses as he doesn't plan to break up with his girlfriend for selfish reasons. Chitoj hears this while spying on them and blushes. Marika falls more in love with Raku for being so cute and exposes Chitoj that she was listening to them. She excuses herself saying that she is only taking care of her boyfriend. Then Marika says that she interrupted their kiss, so Chitoj gets angry and hits her fake boyfriend and leaves. Chitoj doesn't know why she's angry. After that, Marika leaves and forgets her bag, so Raku goes after her and listens to a talk from Marika and her bodyguard. It turns out that Marika is in fragile health and gets tired easily if she's in the sun. Then Marika asks him why he's dating a girl like Chitoj, and he says that she has many flaws, but he can trust her, and that's enough to be her boyfriend. Marika tells him that if he remembers her, he would fall in love with her, but Raku insists that he doesn't remember anything about her and doesn't even know why she is so obsessed with him. So Marika can't take it anymore and explodes, yelling at him that she did many things to please him and he doesn't even remember her. And just like that, Raku recognizes her accent and asks if she is Marie. Marika tells Raku that she has been in fragile health since she was a child, so 10 years ago, her father took her to a sanatorium in the mountains to breathe fresh air. There she met Raku, who, knowing that she could not go out to play, he would visit her every day, and he used to call her Marie instead of Marika. She was happy every time she saw him, so her father made an engagement with Raku's father. One day, Marika asked Raku what type of girl he liked, and he said that he preferred girly girls with long hair. So Marika spent 10 years becoming the perfect woman for Raku. He feels bad for not being able to remember her, but she says that she prefers that he remember her as she is now, and from now on they will create more memories as a couple, starting now with her kissing him on the cheek. Raku is left red and puzzled. The next day, Raku meets the 3 girls on the roof of the school and tells Chitoj and Onodera that the 3 of them were friends when they were kids. Now the question is what promise they made with Raku 10 years ago. Marika says that with her it was a promise of marriage, so maybe it was the same with them. Chitoj and Onodera blush at the thought of a promise of marriage, and Raku asks Marika if she knows why there are 3 different keys. Marika says that she just found out that there are more keys and more girls who made a promise to him, but that doesn't matter to her because she is the one who will marry him. After all, they already shared a kiss. Chitoj believes that she is lying but sees that Raku is red and with a guilty look and tells him that he is an unfaithful boyfriend. Then Chitoj argues with Marika and calls her a boyfriend-stealing cat, but Marika thinks that she is the best girlfriend Raku can have, and so they both ask Onodera for her opinion. But before she can answer, Marika asks about her feelings for Raku, and the Shade Girl says that she only sees him as a friend. Raku is disappointed to hear that answer and looks at the three. One of those girls was his first love, but now he likes Onodera. Raku's old feelings mix with the new ones, and now he doesn't know what to do. Later, Marika tells Raku that she wants to introduce him to her father, but Raku still doesn't want to get married since he didn't know about that engagement, and Chitoj also complains since Marika is too insolent to ask him for such things in front of his girlfriend. But she's not worried since he will be her husband, and even though he does not remember anything, their engagement still stands since their families agreed. After that, Chitoj is upset, and Raku asks her what's wrong since he's felt for a long time that she acts differently. She says that nothing's wrong with her, but she's worried if her people and Claude find out about her engagement with Marika. So she orders Raku to break that engagement with Marika's father. Later, Marika takes Raku to her house and introduces him to her father. Raku almost scares the shit out of him when he sees him. The man is imposing and more frightening than any of and gets even more scared when the old man tells him that the scar on his face was made by Raku's father. Marika tells her father that Raku doesn't remember her, and then he has a girlfriend. The man explodes with anger but calms down when they explain that Raku didn't know anything about their engagement. Also, Marika understands the situation and feels capable of stealing her boyfriend to Chitoj. Then, Marika goes to prepare tea and leaves them alone. Raku is so scared that he is not able to break the engagement, but he manages to tell him that he is in love with another girl. To his surprise, the old man says that he understands but trusts that he will fall in love with Marika. When it is finally time for Raku to leave, he talks to Marika and tells her that her father loves her and treasures her a lot. She says that it is good that they get along because he will soon be her father-in-law. Then, Marika is direct and tells him how he likes women now, so she will change according to his taste, but Raku tells her that it doesn't matter if she has long or short hair or if she speaks with an accent. For him, she's a sweet girl. Marika blushes completely and runs embarrassed and makes her father get Raku out of the house so he doesn't see her like this. Summer vacation has started, and Ruri scolds Onodera because she still hasn't advanced with Rao, but this time, she surprises her because Raku is going to her bakery tomorrow. It turns out that one of the bakers in the family business was unavailable, and she offered Raku a part-time job. The next day, Raku arrives at the bakery and realizes that Onodera's mother is very different from her daughter. She is frightening and has a bad temper. When she sees him, she thinks she is a customer and yells at him. Onodera says that he is the part-time worker that she hired since Raku cooks large amounts of food every day for the Her mother is still not convinced but tests him, and Raku does very well. She approves to Raku to stay in the kitchens and to be her daughter's future husband, although Onodera tells her that she doesn't see him that way. But her mother is intuitive and leaves her daughter alone with him to teach him how to make bean jam paste. Onodera is showing him what to do, and Raku thinks that she is good at making them too. But the last time she made some, the customers fainted, and they had to close the shop for a while, so now she only takes care of the finishing touch, which come out perfect. Later, they start serving customers, and Raku realizes that everyone loves Onodera, and she asks him if he is still going on dates with Chitoj, and Raku pretends that he is, saying that obviously because they are dating. Although Onodera tells him that she already knows that he is not Chitoj's boyfriend, since she confessed it to her a while ago. Onodera is relieved since it now makes sense for him to act like Chitoj's boyfriend when she was around, even though she doesn't know why he kept a picture of Chitoj. Raku thinks that this is his chance to confess his feelings to her, because everything is clear now when it starts to rain and blow very strong wind, and Onodera's mother calls her to say that she won't be back today and that it is too dangerous for Raku to go alone. Raku tries to leave, but there is a typhoon outside, so he decides to stay even though he is of nerves to sleep at Onodera's house, and to top it off, she tells him that neither his father nor his little sister are here. She invites him to her room, and later she realizes that she sounded very suggestive, so she tells him that it's just to change clothes and drink tea. As she prepares the tea, Raku can't believe he's in Onodera's room, and when he's about to see a picture of himself on her desk, Onodera interrupts him with the tea. While drinking tea, both are very nervous and don't know what to talk about, so to cut the awkwardness, Raku asks her to see her yearbook from middle school. Raku is proud to find Onodera in all the photos but says that he does not appear, but she says that it is not true and starts pointing to all the photos that he appears in, even the ones that do not look good. Raku is surprised that she watched him so much, but Onodera excuses herself, saying that he was very popular. There was even a girl who liked him, but she won't tell them the name because she doesn't have permission from that girl. Suddenly, Onodera realizes that the rain has stopped. It turns out that the typhoon changed direction, so Raku must go home. He can't believe his bad luck. But before leaving, he asks for her cell phone number, because since they're on summer vacation, they don't know when they'll see each other. And she gives it to him and almost confesses that she is the girl who liked him in middle school. But she regrets it and doesn't tell him. Later, Raku sends her a message, but she thinks that she already tried too hard during the day, so she cuts him off with a simple goodnight. There is a festival in the city, and many Yakuza have food stands there, so Reiku is helping them a bit, but by chance he meets Chitoge, and the gangsters tell him to enjoy the festival with his girlfriend. Since they have no choice, they walk through the stands and Chitoge realizes that she can use Raku as a free food coupon at the stands, so now she's happy. The ones who aren't happy at all are Onodera, who hid when she saw them, and Murika, who is angry because Raku refused to go with her to the festival, but apparently he doesn't have a problem with going out with Chitoge. While they walk, some people notice Chitoge's beauty and can't believe she's going out with someone as simple as Raku. She finds it amusing, then she tries to catch little fish with a piece of paper but fails, while Raku does it without problems and gives her 2 as a gift. Chitoge smiles brightly at him for his gift. Suddenly, they see a large crowd that wants to buy the relationship charm. Raku wants to go buy it, but Chitoge grabs his hand so they don't get separated in the crowd. Both are blushing. Meanwhile, Marika is also going to buy one with the help of her bodyguard. When Raku finally buys one, the crowd moves and drags Chitoge away. He freaks out looking for her and sees a hand thinking it's her and grabs it, but it's Onodera. Raku thinks that the relationship charm is working since he is now with Onodera, but she is worried about Chitoge, so they go looking for her. Meanwhile, Chitoge is angry at Raku for letting go her hand and then looks around her. Almost everyone is wearing yukata. Still in the crowd, Raku and Onodera want to start looking for Chitoge, but her sandal breaks and Raku carries her on his back to take her to a place with few people. Then he fixes her sandal, but the relationship charm falls off and a cat takes it away. Raku begins to chase the cat, and on his way he runs into Marika, who thinks that he will give her a kiss. Then he runs into Subu, who tells where the cat went. Then he runs into Shu, who grabs the amulet, but Ruri doesn't even pay attention to him. Instead, she kicks it, and the relationship charm flies and lands at Chitoge's feet, who catches it. After that, she finds Raku and gives it to him, but he is speechless because she's wearing a yukata and tells her that she looks good. They continue walking and Chitoge stops to read a sign that explains that the relationship charm is for asking for marriage. If a man gives it to a woman, it means it's a proposal. While Raku is still in his thoughts, he decides to get rid of the relationship charm and throws it at Chitoge as a gift. She turns red because she thinks he is proposing to her, and the more questions she asks, her confusion grows. Suddenly, her sash loosens and she's about to be naked, so Raku goes to help her and reads the sign about the relationship charm and drops her sash, saying he didn't know what it was for. Chitoge is nearly stripped and yells at a shocked Raku. Meanwhile, at the festival, the 3 girls are happy to have seen Raku, especially Marika, who still thinks that he wanted to kiss her. Summer continues, and one weekend, Raku and his friends go to the beach since Shu got an inn at a good price. The girls are excited since they haven't been on the beach for a long time. At the beach, all the girls look beautiful in a bikini, especially Tsugumi, and the girls take the opportunity to play with her big breasts, and Shu does not stop admiring them. Then Marika wants Raku to put sunscreen on her back, but Chitoge defends her fake boyfriend from Marika's flirtations, though she gets annoyed with him and hits him. Later, she goes to look for something in her suitcase and finds the relationship charm that Raku gave her and thinks what would have happened if he really asked her to marry him. But she quickly laughs because that won't happen. At lunchtime, Raku and Chitoge are drawn to prepare the cookout. She helps him, however, she can but feels embarrassed every time their hands touch each other, and because she is distracted, she cuts her finger and Raku heals her. After eating, Raku is alone on the beach and Onodera comes over to spend time with him. He says that he never thought they would be on the silver together and wonders how she has fun if she can't swim. Then Onodera shows him a perfect castle of sand that she made. Onodera has a lot of thoughts in her head and accidentally asks Raku if she can kiss him. Chitoge, who is approaching them, is paralyzed, unable to believe what she hears. Onodera can't believe what she said out loud either, but luckily Raku had fallen asleep and doesn't listen to her, so she runs away. So Chitoge thinks that maybe Onodera was referring to some food. The next day, Chitoge is distracted since she can't stop thinking about Raku, so Onodera approaches her to see what's wrong with her. Then they start talking and Chitoge tells her what's happening to her, but with the excuse that it's happening to a friend, so Onodera thinks she's talking about Tsugumi, so she says that she has a crush on someone. Chitoge refuses to accept that she likes Raku and doesn't stop thinking about it all afternoon. At night, everyone plays with handheld fireworks except Chitoge, who is away from the rest in another place on the beach, so Reiko goes looking for her and asks her what's wrong. She gets serious and asks him if he thinks they would work as a couple. Raku turns red and thinks she's joking and starts telling her all her flaws, stressing that she's not a girly girl. Chitoge feels hurt by his words and yells at him. Reiko is surprised, but she apologizes and runs away. After that, Raku and Chitoge didn't speak to each other for the rest of the summer. A new school semester begins and Onodera notices that Reiko is feeling down and wonders if it's because of Chitoge. Meanwhile, Raku waits for Chitoge to arrive and see her, and when she enters the classroom, he tells her that it was cold of her to ignore him all all summer, and she apologizes again. Raka doesn't understand why Chitoj is different now. Suddenly, Shu tells his classmates that the cultural festival is coming up and their class is going to do the Romeo and Juliet play, and he wants the couple in the class to be the leads. But Chitoj says that she won't. After the character draw for the play, Raku and Onodera are chosen to be Romeo and Juliet. Although Marika does switch places with Onodera, but the shy girl says that she wants to be the main character. Marika suspects what Onodera is feeling, so she says that she will be Juliet's understudy if Onodera doesn't show up on the big day. At the end of classes, Chitoj goes home alone, but is chased by Raku, who tells her that they should go together because they are supposedly a couple. But she says that if one day they don't pretend, nothing will happen. Raku gets angry and asks her what's wrong, but she continues with a blank face and says that they are a fake couple and they don't have to talk about what's wrong with them. Then she goes home, leaving Raku sad because he is really worried about her. Raku feels uneasy and Onodera thinks it's because of Chitoj and doubts about the false couple since even he kept a photo of her. But later, she sees that photo and realizes that besides Chitoj, she was changing clothes in the back. So she realizes that Raku was protecting her when he saved Chitoj's photo. It's time to rehearse the play, so Raku intends to forget Chitoj for a while and focus on Onodera, but she is nervous and forgets her lines. Meanwhile, Chitoj watches them from afar with the script of the play in hand. The rehearsals continue and Marika does not stop meddling when it is Onodera's turn to say his lines, and not only that, but he goes out of character and adapts it to his relationship with Raku. Tsugumi feels offended on behalf of her friend and yells at Marika that Raku has a girlfriend, but that doesn't matter to Marika because Chitoj is not Juliet. This causes Raku to look at Chitoj through the window, and he mentally kicks himself for thinking of her again and freaks out when he realizes that Claude is spying on him through the window. Then the sewing club finishes the outfits and it's Raku and Onodera's turn to try them on. When Onodera shows him her dress, Raku is amazed at how it looks on her, but quickly figures that Chitoj would also look pretty. Just then, he sees Chitoj and her friends go by in the hallway and hides to see her, but he mentally kicks himself again for hiding since he doesn't understand why he does it. The next day, Claude becomes increasingly suspicious of them, so Raku asks Chitoj to be with him today, but she says that she doesn't want to be his fake girlfriend anymore and does not care about their families anymore, and that the whole fake couple affair is over. They are just two strangers. Raku is disappointed with her words because he believed that they were beginning to have a real connection between them, and he is upset to hear that for Chitoj everything was faked, so he agrees with her and accepts that they are complete strangers. He even says that surely her father was confused since it is impossible that they have been friends 10 years ago, so Chitoj slaps him and then leaves. The whole school is shocked. Raku feels bad and goes up for air leaving the rehearsals, and Chitoj throws a tantrum because of everything she said to Raku. It's the day of the culture festival. Raku and Onodera already have their costumes on, but a girl almost has an accident and Onodera runs to help her but sprains her ankle and is now unable to do the play. To make matters worse, Marika has the flu, so she is not present. Everyone is worried without knowing what to do, and Onodera feels bad because maybe the play will be canceled because of her. The teacher says that she will come up with a plan, and Raku runs off because he has an idea. Meanwhile, Chitoj can't stop thinking about Raku and how their relationship is. But suddenly, Raku arrives and begs her to replace Onodera in the play. He tells her that only with her could he improvise in the play. Chitoj tells him that she thinks he hates her because of what he said to her on the beach. Then Raku realizes that he accidentally hurt her, so he explains better and says that even if they don't get along and always are fighting, he doesn't hate her. After hearing this, Chitoj is relieved and agrees to be Juliet. It's time for the play. Chitoj puts on Juliet's dress, and Raku is speechless and blushing when he sees how beautiful she is. Chitoj and Raku go on stage, and their families are present in the audience. The play starts normally. Chitoj recites her first lines perfectly, but they quickly forgets them because she doesn't know the script. They have to improvise a lot of the dialogues, but it works since all viewers find it funny. Since they already made changes, Shu begins to modify the original script and reveals that Tsugumi's character always loved Romeo, so she almost ends up confessing to Raku thanks to the pressure of the show, but she couldn't do it, so they force her off the stage so she doesn't shoot anyone. After that, Marika goes on stage and introduces herself as Romeo's true love, so everyone starts to hate the protagonist for being unfaithful. Then Romeo tries to justify himself by saying that she was confused, but Marika takes advantage of this to try and make it even worse and reveals that Romeo proposed to her. Raku takes advantage of the fact that things are being made up and says that Romeo can't get married because they are siblings, putting her in a very embarrassing situation. Then Marika turns redder and faints when she hears that the protagonist does everything to protect her. After this, when Raku believes that everything is over, Claude appears on stage as Juliet's brother and tries to prevent the two from getting together since he does not believe that Romeo is worthy of her love, so he tries to kill him. Romeo runs for his life, but he doesn't plan to die without a fight, so he throws several bricks at him. No one hit him, but this destabilized the scene, and the castle they had put up falls on top top of them. Miraculously, Raka manages to get out of the rubble and runs towards Chitoj as best he can. He was very hurt, but this only touches Chitoj more, and she gets into her role as Juliet and says that she loves him, but internally she accepts her feelings towards Raku. They finish the play and Raku congratulates her for having acted and improvised so well without rehearsing. But that story seems very familiar to Chitoj since they are experiencing something similar, so she decides to go back to how she was before and apologizes for having been so distant and for having slapped him in the face. Raku says that it's fine if they fight since they're a fake couple who hate each other anyway, but Chitoj gets upset since he had told her before that he didn't hate her, so he is left confused since he doesn't know what she wants. So he asks how she feels and she says that she hates him, but with a bright smile and a tender voice. Everyone at school found out about the play, so they do not stop congratulating them, and Raku is surprised that Chitoj's mood changed completely and he realizes that she was very affected by the thought that he hated her. They begin to celebrate in the classroom and Shu realizes that the fake couple has already made peace, so he is happy for his friend since the whole school found out about the slap, although he covered them by saying that Raku was Meanwhile, Marika had been sent to the infirmary because her fever had returned, and Ruri gets upset with Onodera for losing the role of Juliet, for which she apologizes. Ruri gives the crepe to Raku to force him to talk to her. Onodera tells him that she realized that he reconciled with Chitoj, and thanks to him the play went ahead and was not ruined, but Raku tells her that it's not her fault since she was the one who wanted to do the play the most. Anyway, Onodera feels sad that she couldn't be Juliet since she wanted to have those memories together with Raku. So Raku takes her to the roof so they can recite their lines with the costumes on, then Onodera can say the lines that she wanted to say to Raku, though he ended up saying his own impromptu lines. But it was an unforgettable day for everyone. Ruri was always watching people, but now she lost her glasses so she can't see anything. She asked for Raku and Onodera's help since she had left her glasses to look for something to clean them with, but when she returned, they were gone. She looked everywhere for them, but she didn't find them, and Raku decides to search again since she doesn't see anything. Onodera wants more people to help them, but Chitoj and Sugumi aren't there, so the only one left is Shu, who shows up to help, although Ruri doesn't want his help since he always ends up saying weird things, and as usual, she hits him for it. We see that Ruri has very poor eyesight as she keeps tripping and confusing people, so Raku tells her not to go away so they can start looking together. Ruri finds all kinds of things except her glasses, then she remembers that she went to a very dark place and maybe she dropped them there, so she asks them to go check it out together. Onodera realizes that Ruri is making up that story so she will be alone with Raku, but Ruri starts telling Raku everything he has to do when they are alone. So Onodera gets super nervous and goes to look for the glasses in the teacher room. He and Ruri continue looking for her glasses, and he takes the opportunity to ask her if Onodera likes someone, for which she gets upset since he shouldn't ask her those questions. Anyway, she tells him that he should pay more attention to the people around him since it's obvious who Onodera likes, but since Raku still doesn't understand, Ruri is about to tell him that the person she likes is him, although Shu interrupts them. Onodera returns and goes with Raku to look for the glasses in the corridors, so Ruri is left alone with Shu, who tells her that she shouldn't be saying those things. Ruri doesn't understand why, since both love each other anyway, but for Shu thinks it's very important to gather the courage to confess yourself. Ruri doesn't believe him since he has never fallen in love, but he tells her that it is not true, since he likes someone, although what he wants most is to see his friend happy since he is a good person, and Ruri thinks the same. Days later, Raku and his friends go to work at a temple, and Shu is admiring the view with the girls dressed in Miko, which is the temple's outfit, although Raku does not share his opinion until he sees Onodera dressed in her Miko. Shu tells Raku that they have to practice their dance, but he feels a little bad, although he doesn't think it's something serious, so he goes to practice, but a priestess from the temple gives to Raku a bad omen, and Onodera is scared since this priestess is quite famous for having hit countless times. Chitoj still doesn't believe her since Raku looks very normal, but accidents start to happen to him. So they ask her what's wrong, and it turns out that all the unpopular boys accumulated their hatred and focus on Raku, so he has a lot bad luck that can threaten his life. The priestess tells them that he cannot find out about his bad luck since, in that case, they could not take it off, so they will have to hit him against the bell to free him. But since it is too extreme, Onodera asks her for another option, so she gives them a talisman that she made herself, although they have to put it on her, so it is a difficult task. Chitoj will do it. She approaches Raku and asks him to undress, but he obviously refused, so they end up in a struggle and the talisman falls in water and gets wet. Onodera asks what else they can do, and the priestess tells her that a 1-minute hug could work since their suits can purify him, so Onodera goes to Raku and hugs him, telling him not to ask anything and just stay like that for a while. The minute passes and Raku burns with nerves, but he continues to have bad luck accumulated, and as the new year is about to start, the priestess pulls out her ace up her sleeve, which is holy water, although it must be applied mouth to mouth, so Marika goes ahead to kiss Raku and save him. Then Raku sees Marika approaching in such a suspicious way and runs without thinking. But the others also do the same so Marika doesn't kiss him, although he ends up crashing into the bell and suddenly frees himself from all bad energy. The next day, they explain to him what happened and he thanks them for trying to help him, although he doesn't feel lucky since Onodera's hub was fake and the priestess sees that Raku had bad luck with women and will continue to have it. One day on the way home, Chidoge had a craving for French fries, so she and Raku went to a restaurant and were surprised to see Marika working as a waitress. She explains to them that her father wanted her to enter society and so she got a job, and she does it very well, or so she says, because the manager tells her that she has many clients waiting for her. She leaves and the fake couple sits at a table, and Raku decided to go watch how she works, and he realizes that Marika is very clumsy and makes many mistakes. After that, Marika brings them their orders, but the preference is quite clear, so Chidoge complains although she can't get Marika to serve them correctly, but the manager explains that Marika is a fundamental part of the restaurant since she is always animated, and that has made her win fans who are going to eat just to see her. Then, the arrive and are surprised to see Raku, but they promise not to make a fuss, so Raku calms down a bit. Chidoge's also arrive, who also say that they will behave well, although when they realize that the Yakuza are here, they begin to argue and Chidoge with Raku have to intervene to calm them down, but Marika goes to hug Raku so Claw gets angry because he is being unfaithful to Chidoge and they fight again. To make matters worse, the special forces arrive, who do not like that gang members and can eat so calmly, so they take it as a declaration of war and start fighting. The manager starts crying because at this rate his restaurant will be ruined, but Marika realizes that if that happens, she won't be able to continue working, so she gets upset and kicks them all out to go fight somewhere else. Everyone is surprised to see her act that way, so Marika is embarrassed, but Raku and Chidoge think that she is great, although they are surprised that she takes her job so seriously, and she says that she wants to save the money to buy a house for Raku and be able to live with him when they get married. Raku and Chidoge see it as impossible since paying for a house with a part-time job does not sound realistic, but she is serious. Although Marika does it because when Raku was a child, he dreamed of a house on the hill where he could see the sea, and she wants to make it come true. The next day, everyone visits Raku to celebrate the new year at his house, and as Chidoge called the Yakuza in time, he prepared a banquet for them so they enjoy the feast. But Chidoge craves something sweet, so Raku goes to the kitchen and finds some chocolates. After that, Chidoge approaches Raku and asks him if he already kissed a girl, and he tells her no. Then she asks if he wants to kiss her. Raku is surprised, but quickly realizes that Chidoge is drunk. It turns out that the chocolates had liquor. She tries to kiss him, but he resists, and she is upset that he let Marika peck him in the cheek in the past. Then Shu sees them and tells him that a drunk girl looks cute. Marika overhears him and starts torturing him for saying weird things. She's also drunk. After that, Tsugumi appears and wants to kiss Raku. She is also drunk. He gives her a statue to kiss. Then he sees that Ruri is also wrong because she only talks about economics and politics. And to top it off, Onodera also ate those damn chocolates with liquor. And since she's very hot due to drunkenness, she wants Raku to undress her. He doesn't want to, so she starts caressing him. He can't take it anymore and runs away. Suddenly, he meets Chidoge. She asks him if he likes her, and he says yes, since they are a couple. But this answer does not convince her, and she scolds him since she wants him to see her as something more, but Raku doesn't know what to say since he had told her that he already liked as a girlfriend. So all the girls gather and corner him. Raku can't take it anymore and faints. When he wakes up, he thinks that it was all a nightmare. The girls are very embarrassed, so they decide that nothing happened this afternoon. The next day, Raku has to go to his grandmother's public bath since the pipes in her house broke and Ryu is trying to fix it. But Chidoge also arrives since she was always curious about these baths. Raku takes it just as a coincidence and goes in to take a bath, but he can't help but be nervous as there is a girl he knows on the other side of the wall. To top it off, Marika arrives with her bodyguard since she was also very curious about these baths and had never been to one, so Chidoge is disgusted by the number of coincidences. Marika finds out that Raku is on the other side of the wall, and she climbs it to see him and wants to go to the other side to wash his back. So Chidoge also climbs up to stop her, and since she sees that Raku is staring at both, throws a bucket at him for peeper. Raku hurries to get out of the bathroom quickly, and meanwhile, Onodera with her sister named Haru enter the bathroom. Raku's grandmother has to do something, so she leaves him in charge of the counter and he refuses. Since if something happens in the women's bathroom, he could not fix it, but she obliges him with the excuse that there are only old people. And the worst happens. A pipe stops working in the women's bathroom, and two ladies send him to fix it, although he covers his eyes to enter so they have to guide him, but Onodera was there and she almost let a blind Raku touch her breasts, but her sister stopped him with a kick. Raku recognizes that voice, so he realizes that Onodera is in the baths, but without realizing he wets them with the pipe and his blindfold falls off and he sees them almost. Meanwhile, Chidoge and Marika were in a competition to see who lasts the longest in the sauna, and although they both say they're just getting started, they're from the heat. After that, the ladies tell Raku that two girls fainted and he must get them out. He wants to carry Chidoge, but she almost dropped her towel, and when he tries to cover her up, he slips on the soap and faints. It's been a hard day for Rako. Days later, they all go to the hot spring. While Marika plays with Tsugumi's breasts, Ruri packs all the girls' belongings, but to her bad luck, a geyser sends them flying towards the boys' side. Rako doesn't realize it, but the girl says that if he opens it, you will be able to see everyone's underwear, so they begin the operation to recover their luggage. Tsugumi creates a distraction so Chitoge can take the bag, but Rako turns, so she has to hide and Tsugumi has to distract him again so Chitoge can escape. Rako thinks that there is some wild animal, so he wants to bathe quickly and leave. He starts to wash his head, so Onodera takes advantage of the fact that he is distracted and goes to look for their bag, but Rako thinks that she is Shu and asks for the soap. She gives it to him and runs away before he sees her. Rako sees that there is no one and is scared even more, while Chitoge leans very hard on the bamboo wall and they all fall down. Reiku is surprised to see them and Chitoge punches him, so he doesn't remember seeing them. Meanwhile, Shu finishes climbing the mountain so he can spy on the naked girls, but to his disappointment, no one is there and he falls off the cliff. Season 2. Winter arrives and Chitoge wakes up in a very good mood since she finally accepted her feelings, so she goes to meet Rako, but realizes that there is no significant change in her life after falling in love. When they meet, Rako shudders because her winter uniform reminds him of the first knee she gave him in the face. Then Chitoge throws another one at him since he didn't praise her for changing uniform, so Rako gives her a compliment, so Chitoge is happy, although she knows he did reluctantly. At school, Chitoge realizes that she wants to be his real girlfriend, but they already do everything couples do, so the only thing left is to make him fall in love and they will be a real couple. Then Chitoge panics since she doesn't know what to do. After that, Shu gives Rako his locket and all they go to the roof. Marika tries to put her key in, but Rako stops her because he has something to tell them, although Chitoge doesn't want them to confirm it yet since there is no rush to do it, so Marika starts to annoy her because she thinks Chitoge is afraid of the true. Onodera also wants to know the truth, though just out of curiosity since it was something that happened a long time ago, but Rako tells them that it can't be opened because it's still broken inside. Marika tries to open it by force, but he refuses since it is something precious to him. So they will only open it if it is necessary since there may be a clue inside the locket to know who he made the promise 10 years ago. Later, Chitoge is upset since she had been worried, and she doesn't know what the future holds for her now that she's in love. Rako realizes that she has been strange lately, so Chitoge is embarrassed since she thinks he discovered her. Rako thinks she is hungry, so Chitoge gets upset and sends him flying with a fist, although she still smiles and tells him to go eat ramen, leaving Rako even more confused. The next day, Chitoge has dry lips, so her friends give her lip gloss and praise her for how good it looks on her, so she plans to use it when she meets Rako to get his attention. But the next day, he doesn't even notice the change, although Chitoge does everything to show him her lips. At school, Onodera does notice her lips, but she shuts her up because she wants Rako to notice them without being told. The next day, she uses an aromatic shampoo, but Rako has a cold and doesn't feel the aroma. Then she paints her nails, but he doesn't see them. And lastly, she changed her distinctive red ribbon for another one. The entire classroom praises her change, but Rako still doesn't notice her. At lunchtime, Rako notices that she changed the meat that she always brings, and Chitoge gets angry because he notices those things and not the changes that she makes. Chitoge can't take it anymore, so when they are on their way home, she asks him if he notices a change in her. He doesn't know what to say and says crazy things like if she gained weight or if she grew taller. Chitoge gets angry and hits him. Then he asks her if she means she wears lip gloss now. It turns out that Rako did notice all of Chitoge's changes, but he explains to her that men don't say such things out loud. But she still wants to hear compliments, so he shamefacedly tells her that she looks cute. This makes Chitoge very happy, and they continue on their way. But then she asks him if he noticed her new ribbon, and to her surprise, he didn't. The next day, Rako has to go home alone since Chitoge has to stay at school to do an assignment that she forgot, so Tsugumi accompanies him. But a girl named Paula arrives, who is pending accounts with Tsugumi, and they start a fight in the middle of the school, so Rako tries to stop them since they are starting a but he only manages to get kicked. Later, Tsugumi scolds him for wanting to stop a gunfight with his bare hands, but Paula interrupts them as she doesn't understand why Tsugumi invited her to her apartment when she tried to kill her a moment ago. Tsugumi tells her that she did it so they could talk like she wanted. Paula says that Tsugumi in America was known as the Black Tiger, and before she came, Paula was the #1. But Tsugumi quickly surpassed her, so she took her as an example, and now she is disappointed in her, since she sees Tsugumi in a normal life in Japan and thinks she lost her touch. Tsugumi explains that her mission is to take care of Chitoge, and she should have another role model now. But this annoys Paula since in the past, they were a team and Tsugumi always took credit for all their work. So what she wants most is to defeat her. Tsugumi tells her that she has to have dinner first since she seems to be hungry. Then Paula feels indignant at the warm atmosphere that she gives off, but she realizes that Tsugumi seems vulnerable when she talks with Rako, so she challenges her to a duel. Then Tsugumi accepts, but it turns out that the duel is the one who steals a kiss from Rako lips when Rako and Tsugumi oppose because he is Chitoge's boyfriend, and she is Paula's boss too, but Paula says that the gangster law says that you can't back down from a duel. Besides, surely Raku is just a fling of Chidoj, so she will keep a secret of who kisses him first. The duel starts quickly because Paula steps forward and almost kisses Raku, but Sugumi interrupts them with a bullet and Raku runs away. So Sugumi decides to end this nonsense and kisses Raku, but she can't do it out of embarrassment and hits him. The fight continues throughout the city, and Paula manages to Raku. While Raku is tied up, he tells her that he doesn't want to lose his first kiss like this, and Paula doesn't understand why who kisses first is so important, but he says that there are people who cherish their first kiss like him, and he knows that she doesn't want to win over Sugumi. What she wants is for Sugumi to acknowledge her. Meanwhile, Sugumi looks everywhere for them and feels uncomfortable just thinking about Paula kissing Raku, so she loses her patience and her temper explodes. Later, Sugumi finds them and she is furious. Paula is scared to when she sees her and realizes that Sugumi is now more frightening than before. Then Sugumi goes to Raku and puts her fingers on his lips, and then on hers the duel is ended with that strange kiss. Paula is so scared that she doesn't object. After that, Sugumi tells Paula that she did well, so Paula can't take it anymore and she cries like a child and says that she misses her in America and questions her for leaving just like that. Later, as promised, Paula goes to America and asks Sugumi if she's okay with Chidoj being Raku's girlfriend, and Sugumi smiles and says yes. Christmas is coming, so everyone plans to have a party for Christmas, but Chidoj seems scared since her mom is coming for Christmas and she is terrified. It turns out that her mother is a super successful and busy person, so she hardly ever sees her, but when she gets mad, she's the scariest person in the world. Her name is Hana. Later, Chitoj's father tells her that her mother will arrive earlier than expected and wants to see her boyfriend, so Raku must go to welcome his mother-in-law. The next day, Raku is dressed in a suit as Chitoj told him, and she tells him to behave well since even her father and she are terrified. Chitoj's mother arrives and all the gang members welcome her as a celebrity. She looks surprisingly young, so much so that she looks like Chitoj's older sister and not her mother. She also seems like a very friendly person, so he thinks they were exaggerating, although she quickly locks up Chitoj's father since he did not get a contact that she had asked for. Hana goes to talk with Chitoj and she can't stop trembling with fear. Then she notices Raku. Chitoj presents him as her boyfriend. Her mother recognizes his last name, but Raku says that he behaves like a gentleman with her daughter, and Chitoj's mother tells him that if he hurts Chitoj, she would kill him in ways he couldn't even imagine. Then Hana sees that her daughter is still using her old red ribbon and tells her that she should throw it away. Although for Chitoj, this red ribbon is very special because it was a gift from her a long time ago. The lady is about to leave, but they inform her that her secretary has collapsed since she couldn't stand her 72-hour shift. Plus, all the other secretaries are still hospitalized due to fatigue, so she decides that Raku will be her secretary until Christmas Eve to earn her approval, and if he does not accept, she will kill him. She wants to see how much that little boy she saw 10 years ago has grown. Raku's job begins with reading all her schedule and manuals to know what he has to do, and their first stop is a gigantic company that made a mistake, for which the owners are on their knees to apologize to Hana. Hana asks Raku for a soda for what he thinks will be an easy task, but then she adds Disney plushies and expensive candies, so he has to go all over town getting everything she asked for. Raku gets it all, but with a 30-second delay, so Hana gets annoyed with him. But since she understands the mistake, she forgives him this time. Then their next stop is the building next door. Not wanting to waste time, she jumps from one building to another with Raku in her arms. Later, he has a little break and calls Chitoj to tell her that her mother is the devil, but despite her hard schedule, she always visits them on Christmas, so he advises her to spend Christmas Eve together. So Chitoj calls her mom to ask her for time together, but she tells her that she is very busy and has a full schedule, even on Christmas. Raku heard this and gets mad at Hana. Meanwhile, at her house, Chitoj takes off her red tibbon, looking sad. The next day, Raku starts working like crazy and Hana is surprised at how effective he is. Meanwhile, Chitoj walks with the girls on Christmas Eve, but without her red ribbon as she's upset with her mother. Then Raku asks her if he frees her schedule with her work. Will she have a Christmas dinner with Chitoj? Hana says that maybe she will go if she has time, so Raku continues to work hard until he finishes. He asks her again if she will go to dinner with Chitoj, but Hana refuses, so Raku asks her to give Chitoj a gift. But he is surprised because she had already bought a gift, although she had it saved with the rest of the gifts that she did not was able to deliver her. It turns out that she was always thinking about her daughter, but when she sees her, Hana gets very nervous and doesn't know what to say to her, and that's why it seems that she doesn't care. Then Raku slaps her across the face to make her react, since Chitoj only once spent time with her mom. So he organizes everything so they can meet, and he runs off to Chitoj. Chitoj is in a restaurant remembering when her mom gave her the red ribbon, so she doesn't know when their relationship turns so cold. Suddenly, Raku arrives to take her to a hotel, So all their friends are all shocked and Chitoge doesn't understand. So Reiko explains that her mother is waiting for her at this hotel, but when they arrive, they are told that Hana has already left because her flight is leaving earlier. Raku does not give up, so he takes Chitoge directly to the airport. Although they do not arrive on time, so he calls her to ask her to get off the plane since she's fleeing as always, and all Chitoge wants is to see her. So he passes the phone to Chitoge and Hana hears the voice of her daughter calling her. Then Chitoge's mom got off the plane to talk to her daughter and end up reconciling. After Thar, Raku tells Hana that he will fix the problems he caused by missing her meeting, so he sends them to the hotel so they can spend Christmas Eve together. At the hotel's suite, Hana gives her a new ribbon, but Chitoge prefers the old red ribbon since she is very fond of it, and her mom reveals that she started using it thanks to Raku. When he was a kid, Raku saw it in Chitoge's picture book and thought it would look good on her. Then Chitoge went to ask her mom for a red ribbon. Hana realizes that Chitoge should be with Raku at this time, so she sends her to spend the rest of the night with him. Chitoge finds him asleep in the office chair, so she stays with him for the rest of the night. The next day, Hana is very grateful to Raku for helping her both at work and personally, so he asks her if she knows anything about the locket, but she doesn't seem to know anything, although she confesses that she always knew they were a fake couple. Raku is embarrassed for pretending all this time, but it's not clear to Hana if it was all fake. It seemed to her that Raku cares a lot about Chitoge. After that, Hana leaves, and on the plane, she remembers that locket. It was the one that appeared in Chitoge's picture book. Hana decides that she will tell him the next time she sees him, although it may take years. The exams pass and the results are visible to all. Chitoge is in the top 5 even though she didn't study very hard. Sugumi is in the top 6 and is very happy to be next to her friend. Raku and Onodera didn't make it to the top 50, but they still feel good, while Marika is the worst of all since her grades are lower. Marika never worried about her grades since she focused on being more beautiful for Raku. So the other girls get angry, but Shu tells her that she can't continue like this or she will repeat the grade, and it is true since the teacher warned her. So she invites Raku to help her study at home. She's taking advantage of the fact that her father will not be there. Chitoge tries to teach her, but she doesn't seem to be the teaching type, so Marika sticks with Raku. But Chitoge sneaks into the study session anyway. If they're just going to study, there shouldn't be a problem. They start to study, but Marika doesn't stop wanting to stick with Raku, so he appreciates that Chitoge is there to control her. Although Marika doesn't stop sending hints to keep Chitoge away from him. They study late and fall asleep, so Raku covers the girls with blankets and starts to think that Marika could have any boy, so he doesn't know why she is so obsessed with him. Suddenly, Marika begins to say dirty things as if she were in a wet dream, but Raku realizes that she was only pretending. The next day, Marika wakes up and Raku wishes her the best of luck. Then, in her exam, she realizes that she knows several questions because she practiced last night with Raku-eye Chitoge, so she could pass with the grade she needs, but Marika deletes a right answer on purpose. It turns out that if she failed this exam, she would have to do a makeup, so she asks Raku to help her again. So Chitoge gets upset for her daring. On her way home, Marika's bodyguard is worried about her as she is trying too hard. The next day, Marika asks Raku to take care of her parrot for one night since she will have to go on a trip, and he accepts without problems since he likes animals. Raku realizes that the parrot speaks as in Marika's wet dreams, so he is surprised, but it's time to eat, so he tries to feed it, although Marika's instructions say that for the parrot to accept the food, you must give it to him on the beak. Raku realizes that the parrot is quite intelligent, so he tries to teach him phrases, but since his name is Raku, the same as him, then the believe that he became a furry. Then Raku fell asleep trying to teach him new phrases. The next day, he realizes that the parrot disappeared, so he runs to look for it, but he hears that he is speaking his dirty words, so he hurries, otherwise his reputation will be on the ground. After that, Chitoge sees the parrot, but her face changes when she hears the parrot say all the dirty things about Raku and Marika. Then when she finds out that Raku is taking care of this parrot, she punches him since she believed everything the parrot said. Then Onodera meets the parrot, and upon hearing everything he said, she becomes pale and pretends not to hear anything. Raku continues to chase the parrot. Sugumi hears the parrot too, and tries to shoot Raku for being unfaithful to Chitoge. So Raku decides to follow Marika's instructions to attract the parrot, and he had to say out loud that he loves Marika, and he does it. So the parrot returns with him, and Marika arrives pretending to be surprised that Raku and her parrot are outside, but in reality, all of this was a plan to force Raku to say those words, so she could record everything. It's Valentine's Day, and all the girls are preparing their chocolates. The next day, Raku expects to receive some this year from Chitoge or maybe Onodera, so he waits patiently. But when Chitoge arrives, she pretends that she doesn't know it's Valentine's Day, but she was just being at tsundere, for which she regrets because now it will be difficult for her to give him her chocolates. Onodera arrives and they talk normally, but she doesn't have the courage to give him chocolates either. Meanwhile, Sugumi receives a lot of chocolates from her admirers, but she doesn't understand why, so Shu lies to her, saying that you give chocolates to people you hate, so she could give some to Raku. But first, she decides to give some to Shu, so Raku is shocked when he sees this, since he never thought that Tsugumi saw Shu that way. As he walks down the hall, he meets Marika, who sculpted a chocolate statue for him, but Raku runs away since he does not want to accept it, and Onodera is amazed that Marika can express her feelings. Then she reflects and wants to give her chocolate to him again. Although to her bad luck, she stumbles and breaks them, so she runs away sad since she couldn't give him the only chocolates that she made that tasted good. Meanwhile, Tsugumi tries to kill Shu for lying to her, and then meets Reku, who is outraged that even Tsugumi has received chocolates as a woman and he hasn't. Tsugumi doesn't understand why it's so important, but she gives him a chocolate anyway to comfort him, and this makes him happy, so he leaves and tells her that she should eat the chocolates they give her since they tried so hard. Now Raku feels bad for Marika since he rejected her chocolate that she made with so much effort, and to top it off, it was destroyed. So Raku feels guilty for not accepting it from the beginning, so he starts eating it. Marika does not want him to eat it in that state since it is dirty, but Raku wants to make amends for his mistake, so Marika asks him to make it up to her by fulfilling a wish and accept another chocolate that she will make for him. Then the Raku accepts her conditions, although he wants to finish this piece of chocolate anyway. Later, Chitoge finds Onodera and she realizes that she got chocolates, and since Onodera is not going to give them to anyone anymore, Chitoge eats a little and they are delicious. Onodera asks her if she will also give chocolates to someone, and Chitoge says that she will, so Onodera asks if they are for her crush and if that person is Raku. Chitoge gets nervous and says that she has a crush and it is not Raku. So Onodera is relieved since her suspicions were just her paranoia, so she confesses that she also likes someone and that the only person who knows is Ruri and now Chitoge. Chitoge is glad to be one of the few people who knows her secret, so they make a pinky promise to root for each other in matters of love. Then Chitoge doesn't plan to let Onodera give up, so she helps her make chocolates again, but hours go by and they don't get it, so Onodera tells her to hurry up to deliver the ones she made since she will keep trying. Chitoge accepts and goes with Raku, but she doesn't know how to give them to him, so she ends up saying that it's only out of obligation. Then Raku realizes that she is not being honest, so he accepts them and tells her that they are very tasty, although after that, Chitoge tastes them and realizes that Raku pretended that they tasted good. Meanwhile, Onodera manages to make good chocolates again and catches up with Raku. Before he goes to his house, she hands him the chocolates. Raku is surprised that Onodera is giving him chocolates, so he thinks that it is a proof of love, although Onodera out of her nerves says that it is out of obligation. He is sad to hear this, but is confused after Onodera tells him that it is a special obligation, and she leaves. Spring arrives and we meet Haru, who is very happy because she is beginning her high school life, but on the way she meets some bad boys who harass her, and since she was in a girls' school before, she begins to faint from nerves. Suddenly Raku arrives to defend her, and the bad boys flee when they see the who were following Raku. Raku realizes that she fainted, but since she has her school uniform, he takes her to the infirmary of the school. Then she tells her best friend Suzu that a prince rescued her, although she didn't see his face and doesn't know who he is. Haru goes to her classroom and meets Paula. She will attend this high school, but she is very cold since she does not want to become friends with Haru. Also, she drops her grenades, so Haru panics since they seem very real. After that, Haru wants to discover who her prince is, but now she has someone else she wants to find first. While she walks down the hall, some boys bump into her, so all of her papers fall out and Raku helps her pick them up. So Haru Calms is happy since there are kind people like him. Since he is second grade, she tries to ask him about a person, but suddenly she realizes that he is Raku, the son of the leader of the Yakuza, and even though he has a girlfriend, he has a harem that it is at his disposal. So she is scared and doesn't want him to get close because she believes that his kindness was a strategy to win another woman. To Raku's bad luck, a strong wind raises Haru's skirt, so she slaps him for looking at her. Then Onodera appears and Haru wants to defend her since she is her sister. Haru believes that her older sister is being tricked and manipulated by Raku. Then Chitoge arrives and finds out that Haru is Onodera's younger sister. Haru is astonished when she sees Chitoge, so she doesn't know how someone so beautiful can be with a loser like Raku. For Chitoge, Haru is the sweetest girl in the world and hugs her. After that, Marika arrives and sticks to Raku as usual, for which Haru reproaches her since he is a boy with a girlfriend. But Marika treats her like a girl who does not understand love, so she asks him to break up with Chitoge, so she will be his new girlfriend. Onodera tries to clear things up for Haru, but Haru doesn't trust Raku, so she tells everyone that the Saw are, so they all get upset with him and Chitoge punches him as usual. Later, Haru is still upset with Raku since Onodera did not believe her. Then, she tries to find a club, and seeing that there is a club to care for animals, she goes to see it, although she is immediately discouraged because she sees Raku in this club. But when she is about to leave, she hears him says that he wants to be alone with Onodera, for which she is convinced that he is the worst person in the world since he is looking for his sister, even though he has a girlfriend. Then Raku tries to explain the misunderstanding, but Goose lifts her skirt, and once again, he sees her so Haru slaps him. At night, Haru keeps trying to get Onodera to change her mind about Raku, so she asks her what's so good about him, and Onodera tells her that he always cares about others and he would never abandon someone in trouble. Haru believes that his sister is too good, and that is why she does not see the bad things about Rako, so she decides to protect her, although she changes the subject and tells her how Prince saved her. For what she hopes is someone very tall and handsome, also she has a clue to find out who he is, a locket. Later, Raku in his house realizes with despair that he does not have his locket. Now I go to see a history of magical girls where Onodera is just a rookie, but she shakes because when transforming she must be completely so Ruri gives her something to cover herself, but her transformation has a lot of power so it ends up breaking. Marika shows up and is disappointed that she doesn't see what it takes to be a magical girl in her, so Onodera is surprised at how daring she is, so Ruri tells her that she should learn from her she does not have a problem being in public. Meanwhile, Chitoge is sad because her magical girl costume is not pretty, but she is also worried that walking with a cat on the streets would be too conspicuous, so Tsugumi transforms into a human and Chitoge becomes angrier since her costume is cute. All the magical girls meet and Ruri summons them to cooperate and end the evil that has accumulated in this city, but first they have to choose a leader, although they cannot agree, so they decide by rock, paper, or scissors, and Onodera wins. Ruri warns her that now she will have a more leading role, and that she will always be the one that ends up standing in addition to other simple paperwork things, but it turns out to be an endless amount of work, so Chitoge and Marika are glad that they were not chosen as leader. After that, their first fight is against a giant monster which they cannot defeat in any way, so Ruri recommends that they join their powers in a final attack, but to do this, they will have to be for 5 minutes, since they will use up the power of their clothes. Onodera and Chitoge try to refuse, but since there are no other options, they are forced to. Meanwhile, Ruri, with her perfect defensive and offensive powers, distracts the monster, although Onodera gets the impression that they weren't even necessary. They end up defeating the monster, but Shu appears, who is the doctor who created these monsters and spread them out of the world. Onodera wants to know why he wants to dominate the world, but this doesn't really matter to him, since his only interest is to see magical girls and with their pretty costumes. Onodera decides to stop him since he is an enemy of women, but he has lightning that strips magical girls naked and his first victim is Chitoge, so Marika tries to attack him, but has the same luck, so Ruri advises them to deactivate their costumes. Onodera is worried because she doesn't know what they will do to defeat him, but Ruri has the wonderful idea of lifting Onodera's skirt, so Shu falls to seize her and Ruri sends him flying with a punch. Back to reality, Onodera's mother needs 2 workers, so Haru offers to help her, but they still need someone else, so she asks Onodera to call Raku. Later, he arrives and Haru is upset to see him, so the atmosphere becomes very tense and Onodera would like that Raku to get along better with Haru, but her mother notices it and teases Onodera by telling her that now she has competition. They start working, but Haru is super alert, so there is no contact between the two, so Onodera decides to go on an assignment to leave them alone and they can fix their problems, but Raku gets sad because she left. Then, Haru laughs since now he will not be able to fulfill his goal, and she cannot believe that he has the courage to see her after what he did to her. Instead of looking away, he stared at her and even told her that she should not use bears. So Haru is determined not to let her wonderful sister be with pathetic Raku. Raku agrees that Onodera is wonderful and begins to list more qualities of her, but Haru gets annoyed and punches him for complimenting her sister too much. Then Raku realizes that she also loves Onodera, although in a different way from him. Then he tries to make peace by telling her that he was the one who rescued her from the bad boys, but Haru had idealized the image of her prince to the point that it is impossible for her to believe that he is Raku. After that, he realizes that Haru is very good at cooking, and Haru tells him that she is the one who helps in the shop. So Raku decides to help her and Haru realizes that he is not an amateurish, and when she tastes his sweet, she is amazed. Raku explains the ingredients that he used and they start a kitchen geek talk, but Haru stops talking since she shouldn't be friendly with him, and she tries to take all the sweets tray, but it's too heavy, so Raku has to hold it with her. Haru doesn't want his help and she turns red when she notices his hands, and everything gets worse when Onodera arrives as she puts her hands out and all the sweets trays fall out. Then her mother yells at them for not being careful. The next day, the teacher needs to wash the pool urgently, so she asks Raku since he is the only one she can find. He asks Chitoge and the girls too because no boy accepted, only Shu. The girls arrive and Raku is happy to see Onodera, but he realizes that Haru is her bodyguard so he doesn't do anything weird. Paula bows to Chitoge and introduces herself, and Chitoge does not know what to do with her. That Marika appears and wants to throw herself at Raku as usual, but this time Chitoge stops her with a kick. They start cleaning, motivated to play after finishing, but they also take the opportunity to have fun in the process. At lunchtime, Haru had prepared a lot of food so everyone is excited, but Paula gets away from everyone in a tree, so Haru goes up to eat with her. Also, Haru realized that Paula is pending of Tsugumi and understands very well what she feels, since she's always aware of Onodera. She believes is the same for her. Paula is embarrassed and goes down to be alone, then she watches them from afar, so Raku throws a glass of water on her and says that she should go if she really wants to play, but Paula doesn't want to accept that she wants to go. Then Raka manages to convince her since she will never understand why they have so much fun if she never joins. Haru is glad that Paula comes to play with them, so she throws her into the pool, but Paula can't swim so she almost drowns and gets angry. The next day, Ruri calls Reku since Onodera got sick and tells him that Onodera wants him to take care of her. He gets excited and goes to her house. The store is closed, so he has to enter from the back, and Onodera is surprised to see him. To top it off, Haru arrives at the house and wants to call the police since Raku shouldn't be there, but Onodera stops her and asks her to let him be there. Haru refuses since she is enough, but he convinces her with her favorite sweets. Although she still does not trust him one bit and it bothers her that having a girlfriend, he continues to look for her sister. Raku tries to justify himself by saying that it's complicated, but since he can't give her the whole context, he can't fix anything. They go to Onodera's room and finds her cleaning, so they stop her and throw her on the bed. Then Haru feeds her in the mouth to generate envy in Raku. Then Haru takes her temperature with her hand, and it seems to her that she's already fine, but Onodera realizes that she still has a fever. Then Raka realizes that Haru also caught a cold. She tries to deny it, but the thermometer doesn't lie, so he tries to send her to bed and she refuses. But he scolds her because if she collapses from overexerting herself, Onodera will feel guilty. Haru agrees to go to bed and Raku prepares rice porridge for her to heal. She tastes it and it is delicious, but she refuses to praise him, so she says that tastes bad. Raku stays taking care of her for hours and Haru realizes that he was constantly changing her cold compress. Then she remembers that Onodera told her that he would never abandon someone in trouble, so she accepts that he is a little different than she thought. After that, Haru gives him his locket, but on the condition that if her prince appears, he will return it to her. Raku agrees since it would be impossible for someone else to appear. The next day, everyone talks about how happy they are to be together in their second year of high school. Onodera even cried when she found out. Ruri is surprised because they are even in the same seats, so Shu is happy as he sits together to Ruri. Later, she complains to Raku about whether he can do something with him, but it's a hopeless case, so they feel sorry for the person he likes. After that, Raku asks Shu who is his crush, but Shu doesn't want to tell him, but he says that she is unreachable for him and leaves. More later, Tsugumi is upset since Shu is too annoying, but Raku asks her how would she act if she was in love with someone unreachable, and Tsugumi says that she would not tell him her love, for which Raku is surprised since is an answer very mature. So Tsugumi gets nervous and hits him for talking too much. Later, Shu is helping teacher Kyoko and she tells him that she is getting married, so Shu is sad for a moment, but he pretends to be happy for her and acts as if nothing happened. The next day, the teacher tells her class the news and everyone is surprised. Then during a break, Raku keeps asking Shu who his crush is, so Shu agrees to confirm it if he guesses right. Then Raku asks if she is Ms. Kyoko since they got along very well and he will miss when she leaves, and Shu says that it is true that everyone will miss her. But Raku realizes that he is not being completely honest. He has known Shu since they were children. Shu is terrified since he can't lie to him, so in the end he confesses that his crush is Ms. Kyoko, but he will not confess with her. Raku remains thoughtful since he doesn't know if the decision that Shu made will be the right one, but if it happened to him, he wouldn't know what to do either. Raku consults with Tsugumi again and she tells him the same thing as Shu, so he wonders if he could live in peace making that decision. Tsugumi tells him that it's not a decision since she can't help it, so he is surprised that she's so mature even though she doesn't have experience. He thinks about it for a while and accepts Shu's decision. Then he tells his friend that just as he always supports him when he has a problem, he will support him by respecting his decision, although later he must accept a way out so they can talk. After that, Tsugumi runs to Raku to clarify her answer since, in that hypothetical case, she wouldn't agree to keep quiet, but she would still do it because there's nothing to do. Meanwhile, the teacher Kyoko was already leaving and Raku runs with Shu since he realized that he is suffering, so he will support him in whatever he decides, but he thinks that Shu should think of himself for once. Then Shu runs out and catches up with Ms. Kyoko. She is in the taxi and he tells her about his feelings, to which she just smiles and is glad that he is living his youth to the fullest, but she leaves. After that, Shu asks Raku to invite him to eat as he promised, so Shu tells him that now that he encouraged him to confess, he should also follow that same path with Onodera, but the Raku gets nervous. Shu says that it's just a joke since he wants him to do things at his own pace, but this motivates Raku to ask Onodera to go home together, although they can't help but get nervous. Days later, Onodera is trying the sweets they prepare at home, but Haru tells her that she should take care of herself since she could gain weight. Onodera takes it as a joke until she weighs herself and realizes that she did gain weight, so she panics. The next day, Onodera asks Ruri about her weight, and Ruri doesn't see the difference from her. But she still tells her to be careful about that, so Onodera gets sad and starts her diet. Then Rako arrives, so Onodera gets nervous and decides to lose weight before he notices her. But her belly makes a noise because she hadn't had breakfast, so she tries to hide it as best she can. After that, she meets Chitoj, with whom they had agreed to go eat cakes, so Onodera is alarmed, so Onodera says that she will not be able to go. But in reality, Chitoj had already gone the previous days to eat a lot of cakes, so Onodera touched Chitoj's belly as she doesn't understand where all the food goes. Talking with Chitoj made her hungry, so she can't take it anymore and she eats her lunch early, but Reiku sees her, so she turns red since she is scared of what he might think of her. Later in gym class, Onodera is motivated since she wants to exercise to lose weight, but she faints from lack of energy, and to top it off, she realizes that she gained weight again. The next day, Rako cooks her favorite food for her, so Onodera almost falls into temptation, but she runs away saying that she is not hungry since she does not want to break the diet. After that, she feels horrible since Rako may feel hurt because she refused his food. Although he was only worried and hands her a drink since he saw her acting strange, then he tells her that she should eat since she is skinny, so Onodera calms down. Onodera remember when she falls in love, they were in 9th grade. Rako was a very kind boy, although they barely greeted each other. But this was enough to make her happy, and one day she listens that Rako wants to go to Bonyari High School, and if he is accepted there, she would never see him again. So she decides to attend his same high school. Ruri supports her, but she will have problems with the exam, so Onodera begins to study like never before in her life to be able to enter to Bonyari, and Ruri was helping her throughout this process. But on the day of the exam's results, she is sad since she did not enter. Onodera gets very depressed because her family worries about her, so she goes out to the park to think, and Reiku sees her, so he sits next to her to comfort her. Since it's cold, they share a scarf, so they turn red, and Onodera thinks it's a good time to confess her feelings. But suddenly, she receives a call from her mom, since she had entered the waiting list, and they have just confirmed her admission to the Bonyari High School. She is very happy, but Reiku is happier. Back in the present, Onodera is happy to talk more with Rako and feels that their love is progressing very slowly, but it advances anyway. The next day, Chitoj leaves her house late, so she's in a hurry, and without realizing it, her red ribbon flies off. So when Rako arrives at school, he sees that she is very sad, so they all promise to help her to find it. After classes, they all walk around the city, but they can't find her ribbon, so Rako tries to cheer her up by playing arm wrestling, but even so, she continues depressed. So Rako thinks about what he could do to help her. Then Rako goes to buy her a new ribbon and tries to pass it off as the real one. Chitoj realizes that it is not the real one since the smell is different. Reiku is scared because he thinks she will punch him, but to his surprise, Chitoj forgive him. Suddenly, Rako realizes that the red ribbon is on a very tall light pole, so Chitoj flies out to look for it. To her bad luck, the ribbon flies off and is destroyed by a train. So Chitoj starts crying, but Rako arrives and tells her that the wind had taken the false ribbon and he found the real ribbon. So she's smelling and begins to cry because it is the real ribbon, and she's very happy and hugs him. The next day, Chitoj sees in a manga that the protagonists confess to each other, so Chitoj is left wondering if she really wants to have a relationship with Rako since she loves him. But when she imagines being rejected, she enters in a panic since then. They would have to continue being a couple, so it would be horrible. At night, she tests how to confess to Rako. So she first tries to write it down, but she can't finish because she gets very nervous. So she simulates a confession with the stuffed gorilla and ends up all red after doing it. Then Sugumi comes in to see what she's doing, but when she sees it, she leaves as if she had not seen anything. At dinner, Chitoj wonders what a confession is like, so she asks her father how he confesses to her mother. Her dad tells her that a long time ago, he was in a and she appeared as if nothing happened in the middle of everyone since someone had ordered a pizza. At that time, she lived with 17 jobs, so he was fascinated and proposed to her. It was love at first sight. Of course, she rejected him, but he ended up winning her over with time. The next day, Chitoj is with Rako at a fake date, and she does not stop thinking about her future confessions, so she hits her head for being careless. Then Rako scolds her and asks her what is happening since she has been very strange lately and says that she can talk to him about anything. Chitoj sees this as an opportunity to confess him about her feelings, but Rako says that he is surprised by all the time they have been together, more than a year since they start fake dating, although all he remembers are blows and more blows. So Chitoj recovers her spirits and replies that all blows are his fault. Even though there are many things that they will have to overcome in the future, they can take it easy. So Chitoj decides to keep things as they are now, since there is no rush to confess her feelings. So she will use all this time to be with Rako, and maybe one day she will tell him that she loves him. Days later, Rako dreams that he is married with Onodera. He arrives in his house and Onodera is waiting for him. She even made the dinner for their wedding anniversary, and Rako is delighted as she cooks better every time. Suddenly, he wakes up and wants to continue in his dream. Meanwhile, Onodera wakes up embarrassed since she had asked for Rako to bathe together. The next night, Marika dreams dreams that she is married with Raku. She is waiting for him with a buffet in their Hills house. So after many years, Marika has several children who look like Raku. So she thinks it's time to have a girl. Suddenly, she wakes up and gets upset since she wanted to continue with her dream. Meanwhile, Raku wakes up scared because they had a lot of children. The next night, Tsugumi dreams that she is married with Raku and she prepares dinner for him. Then they start drinking and they get cuddly. Tsugumi wants him to kiss her. Suddenly, she wakes up embarrassed and thinks she's sick. In his next dream, Raku is married with Chitoge, but she is a dog and even barks, so Raku is surprised because he doesn't know she was always like that. Even the meat that she prepares is raw and Chitoge eats dog food. Then she asks him to adopt a puppy, so Raku is alarmed since he doesn't know if she wants a child or a pet. Suddenly, he wakes up upset since this was the strangest dream so far. The next day, he meets Chitoge, and it seems that she also had a bad night. Then she says that dreams reflect your personality, although she doesn't believe in such things, but Raku gets scared when she asks him if he likes dogs. Returning to the magical girls, they meet the magical princess named Yui. Everyone wonders why she is so small, but it turns out that she is 19 years old. She's using magic to make herself appear younger and have more magical girl power. She begins to explain her plan, but she's a bit clumsy, so she gets stuck, and all the girls think she's cute. Shu is attacking again, but on a larger scale, so they need to stop him, although they don't know how they will do it, since they can't beat his lightning that nullifies magic power. Yu reveals to them that they have an item that allows them to improve their magical powers, to the point that Shu's lightning would not affect them, but Chitoge is happy because finally she will change her outfit. Yu activate their transformation, but Onodera and Chitoge are embarrassed as their outfit shows a lot of flesh, but Yu tells them not to worry as they have a lot of power, although that's not the problem. Shu tries to throw lightning at the magical girls, but their outfit protects them, so Marika tries to attack him, but he also has a shield too powerful, so her magical blows does not reach him. Everything seems lost, so Ruri must intervene, so she transforms and performs her final attack. But as Shu's shield is too strong, she decides to kick him between his legs, which defeats him. Days later, Onato returns to school in her normal life, so she believes that he will not have to work as a magical girl anymore, since they defeated the bad guy, but Ruri appears and tells her that the neighboring city continues to have problems, so she transforms her in the classroom, and all the students see her.